Hi, welcome everyone. I am Glenn, and I've been the project leader and one of the contributing authors to Activate Your Life Volume 3, which we launched today. So, Activate Your Life Volume 3 is a collection of 23 life coaches who present one of their favorite exercises, which they use in their coaching practice. And we'll have most of them coming online to present their work and to present their exercise in the book, to present themselves. The streaming is live on Facebook and on YouTube, and we'll go all the way to 9:30 Central European Time, which is, let me think, which is 2:30 Central American Time, for the first guest to come online in the waiting room, in the guest room. So I will give you some more explanation about the book while we're waiting for her. Activate Your Life is a book concept created by my mentor and one of the authors also in this book, Derek Loudermilk. Derek is an American-based entrepreneur, podcaster, author, business coach, life coach, and adventure retreat organizer. He already published 2 of these books, Activate Your Life Volume 1 and Volume 2. So Activate Your Life Volume 1 was a collection of 50 exercises, and Activate Your Life Volume 2, 30 exercises, and in this one there are 23 exercises of 23 authors all over the world. Some live in the USA, some in Europe, and other ones in Asia or Oceania. I'm just gonna check if Karen has received the right link, because she should be online by now. So I have no answer from Karen. We have our next guest coming on in 15 minutes of time.
Hi, Glenn.
Hey. So there we are. I will tell again
Apologies,
the
anybody
listeners.
else here.
So this is the online summit for Activate Your Life Volume 3. The book is a compilation of 23 coaches who present one of their favorite exercises in the book. And Karen, she's one of the 23 coaches. I'm just gonna shut down my cam and restart again because I see that I'm frozen. Okay, this is better. So Karen Dark, she's one of my favorite human beings on this planet. She's an incredible adventurer and also a transformational coach. Yeah, Karen, nice to see you again. Has been a while.
Thanks. Yeah, you too. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be in the book and contributing to it. If one person can benefit from what I've shared, then that's wonderful.
Yeah, for sure. I think that a lot of people can benefit not only from your exercise, but also from hearing your inspiring life story. So maybe we should start with that. Give a short bio of yourself and of all your adventures and your athletic feats which you have done in the last couple of decades.
Well, I definitely have an adventurous gene. I love to learn and I love to find ways to deepen my experience of this beautiful planet that we live on and all the people that are in it. So very often for me that involves a physical journey. Often I love to travel to different cultures and landscapes, which is very often quite challenging for me. So when I was 21, I was a rock climber. That was my passion. And I fell from a cliff in Scotland and broke my back and became paralyzed from the chest down. So I've had to find new ways to interact with the world and to especially engage with nature and adventure. So most of my activities involve either a hand cycle, that's a kind of laid back bike that you pedal with your arms. I sometimes call it a sunbed on wheels because it looks a bit like that, or kayaking, canoeing, or skiing in what's called a special sit ski. So I squeeze my bottom into a very tight fitting seat and then just have to use my arms to steer the skis. So that's how I kind of experience my adventures. And yeah, over the past couple of decades, I've had some incredible experiences from crossing the Greenland ice cap by sit ski, a month-long journey into the wilderness, and now planning
Mm-hmm.
for another version of that to go to Antarctica to create a very special point there called the Pole of Possibility. It doesn't exist yet. We're going there to create it. And it's going to be at 79 degrees latitude and longitude. 79 is the atomic number of gold. And it's the 79th medal that I won for Britain in the Rio Paralympic Games. So I spent the last 15 years competing at a professional level for the London Paralympic Games and the Rio Paralympic Games. And this number 79 has kind of come to me through this journey. And as you know, Glenn, it represents gold. And to talk about how we can find our inner gold when we challenge ourselves and get outside our comfort zone and just have the courage to begin a journey which we might not necessarily, which might feel difficult, overwhelming, a bit, challenging in many ways. But when we do, the rewards are so great. And I think that's what I've discovered through my journeys. And over
Mm-hmm.
the past 5 or 6 years, I've been cycling across each of the continents and following water, actually, rivers or oceans. And each of those journeys, people have come with me who've maybe never done anything like that before. And in a way, I've been, in some ways, either kind of coaching them, I suppose, to have the belief in themselves that they can do it and to take those journeys. It's not been a formal thing. It's been friends or friends of friends that have come, but it's been just so rewarding for me and for them to share those kinds of experiences together and for me to see the journey and the landscapes and the experience through their eyes, who have maybe never done anything like that before, but then for them to have that experience when maybe they hadn't believed that they could do it previously. So yeah, that's the next stage for me is now looking to take people on journeys in a more formal way to countries and cultures that might be unusual, because I think that helps us stimulate our thinking, to reduce our fixed mindset, to help open us up to new ways of doing things and new possibilities. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's my passion to do that anyway, but then to take other people on those journeys is really, what I love to do. I call
Yeah.
it "Wouldn't it be amazing?", which is what the chapter's called that I've contributed, just to have that little dream or that seed of an idea of something. And
Hmm.
I love the quote that, well, one of the things that's driven me for years is a lovely quote by Goethe, which is, "What you dream or believe you can begin it. Genius has magic and power in it," something like that. But boldness has magic, power, and genius in it. I've
Hmm.
probably misquoted it slightly, but it's more or less that. But the idea that if we can just have a dream, a goal, begin it, and then just see what kind of magic unfolds and what inner gold we find throughout that is really
Yeah,
special.
yeah. We'll talk about the exercise in the book, the Waiba exercise in a minute. But first, I'm curious to hear how you got into coaching, because you talked about coaching people along the way on your adventures, but how did you go from there to becoming a transformational coach who works with athletes and business people?
Yeah, so well, I've actually been coaching for years. When I originally began life as a geologist, and then fairly early after the accident that I was paralyzed in, my interest became much more about human development and growth and potential. So I naturally ended up moving away from working as a geologist into working in coaching and learning and development. So I used to coordinate coaching programs within a large corporate organization, and then over time trained as a coach and began coaching people myself, because I really love that one-to-one contact, and I find it very rewarding. And but more recently, as you say, because I've had less focus on training full time for the Olympics, I've had more time again. So now in the last couple of years, I've been able to reshift into doing a lot more one-to-one coaching work and helping people on their journeys. And it's always really, yeah, really inspiring to learn with somebody. I think that's the privilege
Mhm.
of being a coach. It's not that we have all the answers or have everything completely sorted. It's really that we've got some skills and life experience and a passion to ask good questions to help people find pathways through their own journeys.
Yeah. What are the main techniques you use in your coaching? Is it visualization, meditations, journaling, or other stuff?
All of that, yeah. I really have, when I turn up to work with somebody, I have no fixed way of working. I really try to meet them where they're at and listen to where they are, and then to think about what techniques would be most helpful for them to move them forward. So sometimes it might be more cognitive techniques, using thought and changing thoughts, and specifically looking at what's happening in a more practical cognitive way. And then sometimes it's much more, yeah, using those more relaxed brain states through visualization, hypnosis, to help people connect with something that's maybe more deep or creative within themselves.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. And in the book Activate Your Life, you describe an exercise which is called "Wouldn't It Be Amazing?" And the four letters WIBE, they are also an acronym for what, inspiration, belief, and action. That's right.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. Can you explain the people who are listening what the exercise is about, and also how you invented the exercise? At what stage in your life you came up with
Hmm.
it?
Well, I mean, there's plenty of theory that shows that as human beings, we operate much better if we have um, goals that are set for ourselves, like goal setting theory and the goal orientation. So when we have some clarity about some things that we're trying to achieve, it's much easier to be motivated and to work towards them, especially if we've connected those goals with something which is really around our passion and our intrinsic motivation. So the word "wibber" was just kind of I just kind of invented it, because I've always, since the moment I broke my back and laid in that hospital bed, I've become really aware that the things that has helped me is always having a big goal, like a dream that I'm working towards. And that dream varies in scale massively. In the beginning, it was like literally my "wibber," my "wouldn't it be amazing," was, wouldn't it be amazing to learn to pull my trousers up when you're sat on your bum all the time in a wheelchair? How do you do that? So it felt like a really big thing. And then it moved on to, wouldn't it be amazing to cycle across the Himalayas, for example? And that's one of the stories I share in the chapter. But over time, I've realized the importance of what lies beneath a Wibber. It's not enough just to have a big goal. We really need to be passionately connected to it. And to do that, we need to dig quite deep within ourselves to explore what our motivation is, what our inspiration is, what our belief is, and then get down to some actions that we can take. So I've broken down the letters of Wibber into the what. So what is the goal and why? Why do we want it? What's the excitement around it? What's the curiosity? And then the inspiration is the I. So inspiration I see as being like energy to us. We're human and we need it and we run out of it. So how can we find more? What, digging deeper into our why, so that we're asking that multiple times. Why would I want that? And why would I do that? And going deeper into it. And also just finding ways to make sure we have simple ways of feeling inspired every day, because that helps us stay fresh and recover and move us forward with our goals. So everything from just time in nature to noticing a smile or a moment that was special during the day and feeling inspired and grateful for that. The B stands for belief. I don't think we always need to believe that we can achieve our big Wibber. All we need to believe is that we can achieve a step towards it. And that's kind of the really, famous way of just break it down into one step every day. But it's so vital that we can't always believe in something bigger than where we are when it seems too far away. So the only way to grow our belief is to take those baby steps and to gradually build our confidence and see how it can become possible. And the A is the action. So what are those baby steps? What do we need to do to move our belief forward so that we can potentially achieve really surprising things? And I look at my life and I can't believe some of the things I've achieved, and when I'm looking at the next big thing, whatever that may be, I can feel intimidated and feel like it is impossible, just like all of us do when we set a goal that's really stretching for ourselves, or a dream that feels really big but also quite far away. But the reality is that we just have to keep breaking it back down into every day. What do we do? What are the little steps? How do we just keep that consistent commitment to making something happen? So yeah, that's just a little bit of an explanation of the process and where Wibber came from.
Yeah, it's amazing. What is your next Wibber in your own life, Karen?
Well, I have a few. One of them is to create an incredible journey to take people on, which will be, I hope, very much a deep inner exploration as well as an outer exploration of the country of Bhutan. So Bhutan is a country that's fascinated me for years, and it's famous because it's not only the only carbon negative country in the world, but they also measure everything, all their economic development decisions, based on gross national happiness instead of gross national product. So it's all measured based on the impact on people's happiness rather than on the economics as the first decision point. So I'm personally fascinated by the country. I know that I love to take people on coaching journeys, and so I've developed this exciting journey across Bhutan that I'm looking for a group of people to take on with me. So that's a pretty big Wibber for me. And of course,
Can people still join you, or is
there are spaces, and we're
how
looking
do
to
they
run it.
register?
So if people get directly in touch with me, that would be wonderful, through my website, which is karendark.com. They can send me an email and I can send them information. And it'll be running in the autumn of next year of 2022. We've just delayed it, actually. We were going to run it in April, but now we're just getting new dates for September, October time. It'll be a 2-week trip. Yeah. And my other Wibber is to impact as many lives as possible, but setting the target of 1 million lives through the Quest 79 project. So that's something people can explore more about at quest79.com. But we're trying to engage people around the world with that, to take up their own challenge that they wouldn't normally do, see what inner goal they can discover and who they can inspire around them, and have that ripple effect on really spreading positivity and good stuff around the world.
Yeah. Okay. I've noticed that the next coach has joined the rating room. So I'm going to let you go, Karen. Thank you very much for your contribution to the book. and for coming online to present yourself.
Thank you so much, Glenn. Thank you for the invite. Bye-bye.
Bye. Talk soon. So, our next guest, our next author is Rachel. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi, Glenn. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too, indeed. So, Rachel Jacobson, that's your second name. Do I pronounce it right, or it's Jacobson?
It's Jacobson, but I like the way you pronounced it.
Yeah, it's the Dutch way. I'm Belgian myself. Okay, Rachel, let's start by you presenting yourself, maybe.
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, I am an energy medicine therapist. I work with people with chronic health problems, with ongoing stress, and I use mostly a methodology called the Eden method, but then also other techniques such as EFT, Reiki. I'm trained in a form of counseling. So I've got many strings to my bow. I've actually almost completed a breathwork training, which has been amazing, life-changing. And yeah, it's just my joy and privilege to support people in their lives.
Mm-hmm. When I called you the first time to present the book, what was very striking to me was the calm I felt on the other side of the computer screen.
Oh.
You seem so relaxed and so zen.
Well, that's so kind. I'm really touched, actually. That's really kind of you to say. If you'd have met me even maybe a year ago, you maybe wouldn't have met such a calm person. It's really been a journey of growing and developing resilience and calm groundedness.
Yeah, because I read in your bio from the book that your life hasn't always been as peaceful.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you tell a bit more about it and how those difficulties made you search maybe for energy work?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I had a rough time at a very young age. Like through my teenage years, I was very depressed. I actually had an eating disorder for over a decade, and life was immensely difficult in many ways. Once I hit my 20s, then I had a lot of physical health problems because for years I'd been starving my body and not nourishing myself with nutrients. And that was then what led me to looking for what are different ways, not just emotionally, but also physically, I could help myself. And I began to discover that there were lots of things available to me other than what I'd been growing up thinking was possible to look after myself. And so things like yoga, meditation, and of course, energy work have all become big staples for me. And I honestly don't know where I would be without these things. I mean, I know I wouldn't be functioning and wouldn't be here today as I am, smiling and so on. I don't know if I'd be able to hold down a job. I think life is stressful. There's a lot going on in the world. And part of being human is day in, day out, life is happening. We're experiencing things, sometimes the nice things that we want, the good stuff. And sometimes it's difficult, painful, intense things in life that throw us. So the more that we have tools to manage that stress and stay calm, the better equipped we are in life.
As a coach, do you also focus on working with people who are maybe overwhelmed by the stressors of life?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, I actually am really passionate about, I believe that essentially we all carry stress. We all carry things that have been really upsetting in the past. So it doesn't really escape anyone. And so day in, day out, I'm always talking to people about ways to reduce stress, ways to prevent stress. I think it's so important because we can't avoid it.
It's going to be interesting shifting to the next author because he also focuses on stress work.
Wow, wonderful. Yes.
What I'm curious about, because I'm quite new to energy work, and I guess some other people who are listening to this also, you told me that you focus on Eden therapy. Can you explain what it means, what it is exactly?
Oh, yes. Yeah, so some people may have heard of Donna Eden. Donna, if you were to look at her name online, and you would see she smiles with great vibrancy and vitality. And she's actually in her late 70s, which usually surprises people. And when she was in her 20s, she had various health conditions such as MS and was seriously ill. And Donna can see energy. So when you go to an acupuncturist, they're working with this energy, this chi or prana. We all have this life force. Most of us can't see it, but Donna had this wonderful gift of being able to see the energies. And so she was able to heal herself, and she studied and developed a whole program really. The Eden method. And within that, we work with 9 energy systems. So an acupuncturist typically will be working with the meridians. So their energy pathway is a bit like the bloodstream. You know how the bloodstream carries blood. So we have these fixed pathways in our body. They're like rivers, the meridians that carry the chi there. And so they're mapped out. And there's 9 energy systems we work with, among other things. And so truly, if someone's experiencing something physically or emotionally, there's ways to then test and look at all those energies and find out what's flowing well, what's not flowing well, where there are blockages, where there's too much energy, where there's too little energy. And then there's techniques and ways to address whatever's going on for a person.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see. Let's talk about the exercise in the book, Heaven Rushing In. Can you give a brief introduction to it? And then maybe if you feel like it, we can do a live session, a short session.
Yeah, that would be so lovely. It's such a beautiful exercise. You know, there were so many possible things that I could have shared. And I really chose this one because for a lot of people, it's a real favorite and it really helps them. It's a way of bringing in support and motivation and inspiration. And all of us at different times feel flat, low, don't want to get out of bed. And sometimes it can be really debilitating. You know, I mean, for me in my teens and early 20s, I was paralyzed with fear and just unable to act in so many ways. And this exercise sometimes can really propel someone. So if you are having a day when you're feeling particularly bad, sometimes it's a beautiful thing to bring in some energy from outside yourself and supportive energy. And so the crux of the exercise, there are several steps, but the core part of it is about opening up your arms and with palms facing upwards towards the sky. And then that energy that's above us that we each interpret in different ways, but there's this divine energy that's around us and above us, and we can welcome that in, bringing it into our heart as well. And there's actually a vortex there that Donna Eden calls heaven rushing in. So you're bringing in all this support. I've had times when I've had a long list of things to do and I've not known where to start. I've felt overwhelmed and just unable to prioritize. And that in itself becomes a stress. And so I'll just pause, and even if it's just half a minute or a minute out of my day, and I just do a short, quick heaven rushing in, and it will calm me, it centers me, and always then some answer or some insight will come of, okay, the next step is I'm going to cross that thing off the list. I'm going to take the bins out and do a bit of housework, or I'm going to do these 5 emails and then have a break, or whatever it might be. And if you'd like to go through it now, that would be amazing. Really.
Yeah, interesting, because I I was swimming this morning and I had the idea I have too much on my list today, because I'm moving from France to Georgia, and I'm now in Belgium as in between. So I have a lot of things on my head. So if we could do a live session, would be welcome for me anyway.
Yes. Oh, how wonderful. Gosh, you've got a lot going on all at one time. Yeah, what a wonderful thing to spend the day talking to coaches and getting inspiration with all different exercises and things you can try. So let's do some heaven rushing in together now. And then anyone watching, if you'd like to join, that would be lovely. So you can do this exercise.
Is it a standing exercise or?
Well, any position. Okay. So you could stay seated or you can stand. You can even do it lying down. So it's really versatile. And so the first part, which is a nice way to open up the exercise, is to rub your hands together. And this just helps to build up a bit of energy. And your hands are your tools that you're moving energy with. A bit like if you were gardening and you've got a rake and the equipment you're using in the garden to... I think I may have lost you for a moment. So I'm going to keep talking because I think maybe the internet connection has gone for a moment, but perhaps people are watching. Oh, there you are.
Yeah,
So
I'm back.
yeah, hi. So rubbing the hands together, this is a nice thing to do. It just really cleans your tools, and then shaking them off, because you're going to use your hands to move and balance your own energies. So having them nice and clean, it's the same thing as if you're in the garden with a rake and you want it so it's free of loads of tree branches and things so you can use it. So you may even feel a difference in your hands potentially from doing that, you know, just feeling a bit lighter because you've released some excess, stale, old energy. And then now resting your hands on your legs. So anywhere at all, I'll stand so it's completely clear for you. Anywhere at all on your upper legs, just resting your hands here. And this is a nice way just to ground in for a moment. And we can all use more grounding in life. And then the next time you breathe in, swinging your arms up, and then as you breathe out, coming into this prayerful position and taking 1 or 2 breaths here. And now you're going to open your arms up. So it's up to you. You could raise them up over your head, or it might be more comfortable having them lower. You want your palms facing upwards towards the sky. If you'd like to, you can also look up and imagine as if the ceiling above you is floating away. And in this position, with your palms facing up, you are touching the heavens, receiving the energies from there. And knowing, sensing, trusting that you're receiving support, inspiration, motivation. Allowing yourself to breathe naturally. You may begin to feel some warmth or tingling in your hands. If you don't, that's okay. You're still receiving that beautiful energy. And now the next part is to slowly, in your own time, begin lowering your arms, and you're cradling all that energy, cupping as much of it as you can, bringing your arms to rest on your heart. And then holding here for 1 or 2 breaths. So that is how you would do heaven rushing in. And it can be modified in all sorts of ways, which I've talked about in the book.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that, Rachel.
Yeah.
It feels already calming, relaxing.
Yeah, I was thinking to ask you, Glenn, how are you feeling? But I didn't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, it feels cool. Is it something, if I should try it, or if people want to do it, should I do a couple of repetitions of this movement?
Absolutely.
Or rather do one and slowly?
It can be really varied, and it's a very personal thing. So you can really make it your own and make it, I say, delicious for yourself, you know, so you're receiving the maximum benefit. So that's why I say you could have your arms up in the air. And I saw, Glenn, your arms were right up reaching. It was beautiful to see you. And then some people, you know, maybe if you're feeling under the weather and you've got a cold, or, you know, or an elderly person, you know, might not have the capacity to reach for such a length of time. So that's why you might have your arms out more out level with your waist or hips. And if you were lying down, you could have them resting out beside you. So you're in a totally relaxed position, lying down with your arms on the bed or surface beneath you. And then the length of time that you stay with your arms open, that can be really varied. You could be there for 2 or 3 breaths. Maybe that's all the time you've got in your day. Or this might be something you really enjoy doing for 5, 10, 20 minutes. You can do it while you're listening to a guided meditation. It can be really powerful as a way to amplify the effects that you get. You can bring in other things like diffusing essential oils and get the therapeutic benefits of those. So it's delicious, making it for you so that you receive just the right amount of support, inspiration that you need for whatever you're looking for, you know, wherever you're feeling stuck and lost, so that you can move forward.
Okay, it's great, Rachel. People who are interested in discovering the techniques you're working with, or who are interested to start coaching with you, do you provide online coaching? I assume also live coaching in the UK. Just tell us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're still on. Yes. Technology being fun as always. So I do private sessions and also have different groups and workshops as well. And everything is listed on my website, which is racheljacobson.co.uk. And I'm working remotely, so I've got people I'm working with around the whole world, which is a real blessing to be able to support people. And I think one of the best parts of having private sessions and getting that support is it's not just a healing experience where you're getting help with particular issues. Like maybe you've got a physical issue like shoulder pain or problems with digestion or hormones. So it's great for that. Or emotional issues like ongoing stress or anxiety, anger. But also you will learn. So it's really important to me, that people are empowered. So in every session, I'm always teaching at least 1 or 2 exercises, similar to what we've done with Heaven Rushing In. Simple movements you can make that give a lot of benefits. And so over time, people really gain a lot of knowledge, so that if it's a Tuesday afternoon and you've got a headache, you've got not just 1, but maybe 3, 4, 5 different possible things that you can try for your headache, and something will give you some relief and help to reduce that. So I think it's just such an important thing and so empowering when we know the tools ourselves, and then with our own hands, and it's free, we can do it anytime, anywhere, and we can look after ourselves and enjoy life.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, that you don't need any equipment to heal yourself, or you don't need an expensive operation or something.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes it may be important to have an operation. You know, if a person has a problem with their appendix, then thank goodness the surgeon is qualified and they're able to deal with that. But there's so much in life, these stresses and things that come up, that we have not just hundreds but thousands of tools available to us to help ourselves. It's a real blessing.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Rachel. I will move on to the next author, because I know he also has a lot of tools which are interesting to deal with stress and deal with emotional discomfort. Thank you for your contribution to the book and for coming online today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and blessings for the rest of the day. I'm looking forward to watching.
Wonderful. Have a nice afternoon.
Yeah, thank you.
So next author of the book is Matt Adams.
Good, Glenn. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Can you hear me okay?
You're in Italy at the moment? Yeah, I hear it perfectly.
Yes, Italy.
but originally
Correct.
from Australia. That's right.
Yes, correct. I moved overseas beginning in 2018, and then landed in Italy about a year and a half later, in April 2019. May 2019. So that's 2.5 years now.
Okay, so I know you also travel to a lot of other countries, so quite an international coach.
Yeah. So I left Australia initially, and landed in Vietnam. So was almost there for a year, and then on the way to Europe, 3 months in Moscow, and then now in Italy. But and obviously just done a lot of travel in general. But that's been the last 3 years of my life. So it's been a great journey, and it continues.
Yeah, your journey, you talk about it. It has been a bumpy road.
Yeah. So would you like me to go through that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Start from your career in sales, and then tell us the entire story.
Okay, I'll take it one little step back. So I'll start with my sort of stage 1 stress. And so basically in 1999, I finished my IT degree. 2000, I started my career in IT, did a year, and basically hated it. Sitting behind a desk 9 to 5, back then at least, really wasn't me. And at the time, I was reading a lot of personal development books. And so I wanted to learn how to sell. So basically, I got into real estate and basically did really, really well. Within 10 months, I was promoted to senior salesperson. Then another 2 months later, I was promoted to sales manager of a particular office. And about, I think it was 4 or 6 months after that, I was promoted to sales manager of a second office, and I was also given a profit share in that office as well. So, here I was 24 at that point. I was managing 2 real estate offices, bought a brand new car, bought my first house, and kind of on top of the world. And all the, everything I was reading in the personal development books was kind of manifesting, and I was loving it. And unfortunately, that's when the sort of trouble started a bit. I ended up, it was around May 2002, the sort of symptoms of stress started. And those symptoms were mainly 2. The number 1, I started to get a lot of pimples all over my face. And I was 24, not 14. So that was really strange. And I really didn't know what to make of it. And I thought, okay, my diet's fine, that's fine. And also my libido dropped to almost 0. And having no prior experience with stress, it was just that word didn't even come up. And if anyone would have said to me at the time, Matt, you're probably just stressed or whatever, I would have just written it off. And my mindset back then, as a 24-year-old, male, was basically stress equals weakness. That was my kind of mindset back then. Anyway, so I kept pushing myself, of course. And about 3 months after that, I basically woke up one morning and I had a thought. It just sort of came to me, and that was, I don't feel like going to work today. And I was like, ooh, that's weird. Okay, so I thought, okay, that's okay. I can work with that. The next day was my normal day off anyway, which was a Wednesday. Thursday morning comes, I wake up, and I thought, ooh, I don't feel like going to work today again. I thought, okay, something's really weird here. So long story short, that was basically stage 1. So I resigned within 48 hours of that whole initial experience. And every other job I had after that, basically stress followed me. In terms of what I mean is that stress by then was sort of in my body. And so anytime I got a little bit busy with any sort of job after that, those old stress feelings came up, and I was like, I have to resign. I can't do it. My mind is running 100 miles an hour, stress and anxiety and everything. Anyway, if I thought that was a bad situation, that was nothing compared to the next, what I call stage 2 of my stress, which was happened at 27, so 3 years later. I interviewed for a sort of I'll say a stressful job or an important job for one of Australia's largest real estate websites. And so the interview was on a Monday, and they said, okay, we'll get back to you at the end of the week and we'll let you know. We're interviewing other people, so no problem. So So first of all, Thursday morning, Thursday, 2:00, they actually called and offered me the job. So that was great. However, at 11 a.m. that same morning, 3 hours prior, I was driving my car along the river this was living in Brisbane, Australia. So I was driving my car along, and I got a phone call from a friend, and completely out of nowhere, my heart just started absolutely pounding like crazy. And I thought I was basically having a heart attack. It just went, boom, 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 just 100 miles an hour. So picture this, I was in my car, couldn't pull over. I was in the middle lane or 3 lanes, and on my side of the road, I was in the center lane, and obviously 3 lanes on the other side. And I had the steering wheel in one hand, the phone in the other hand, and this whole situation is happening. My heart's just absolutely pounding. And all I could do, I just sort of intuitively sort of started pushing myself back and upwards into my seat. And sort of in an effort to sort of, I don't know, expand my chest. I think I was just trying to breathe. And I was like, just trying to get some air in my, I didn't know what was happening. So that lasted for about, I guess, maybe 8 seconds, 10 seconds or something like that. And then it stopped. And when it stopped, I had a layer of perspiration over any exposed skin. And the tip of my tongue was numb. And I thought, what the hell was that? And so fortunately, the direction I was heading, there was my regular sort of doctor's clinic. So I stopped in. They connected me up to a ECG machine, and absolutely nothing. No sign of anything abnormal, nothing of anything. And I was sitting in that chair, and I thought, okay, it has to be that stress. From 3 years prior, that was like, as it turned out to be, the stage 1 was like a warning shot across the bow. And this was what I now refer to as stage 2, which was basically something needs to shift. This is you, this is your path. And it was like sort of life was pushing me in a different direction. So now, as if that wasn't bad enough, it actually did get worse. The next 4 months after that panic attack were literally the worst 4 months of my entire life. Literally on a daily basis, I was experiencing, I'm actually getting emotional. Just remembering it. Oh. Well, so tough. Okay. So toughest 4 months of my life on literally a daily basis. Oh. Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. I was experiencing up to 100 heart the feelings and sensations that was going on in my heart. So that job I was offered, by the way, I did actually take it, accepted it on that Thursday. I did go to the office the next day for a sort of a walk around and meet the team and everything. And I was actually due to fly to Melbourne on the Monday for a 1 week full sort of induction training. And would you believe I ended up having to call first of all, I called my mum on the Sunday morning, literally in tears, and telling her what happened, 3 or 4 days earlier. And anyway, on the Sunday, that afternoon, I called the guy who hired me, and I just kind of made up an excuse and resigned. So 4 days later, I was working in a factory making ladders, literally.
Which was less stressful for you.
Yes, it was completely random. I received a completely random phone call, recruitment agency. My like a year prior or something like that. And completely out of the blue, they called me on the Tuesday, and the lady just said to me, Matt, there's this job. It's a manual labor job. It's at a factory. You'll be making ladders. It starts tomorrow. It's yours if you want it. And I was in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, talk about serendipity. I thought this is perfect. I can be at work and I can just use my hands without having any stress on my mind. And so I said yes. So I literally started the next day. And so that was 6 days after the panic attack. So now, as I said, so that 4 months following the panic attack was the toughest 4 months. So that was where I was experiencing literally up to 100 heart palpitations. A good day was maybe a dozen heart palpitations, and up to 100, and those lightning shock feelings. Over that next 4 months, even though I was doing a very basic job just with my hands, I could only work 4 days a week on average, and I was almost fired from that job because I kept having to call in sick. And excuse me. The reason I called in was because I was literally having the thoughts, if I go to work today, I will die. That was my literal thought, and I obviously didn't want to die, so I called in sick. And so about 4 months or 3 months into it, the recruitment agency called me and said, "Oh, look, Matt, they're kind of happy with your work, but they're just wondering why you're taking all this time off." And I sort of, okay, I thought, oh well, leave it with me. I'll go and chat to them tomorrow morning. And so I chatted to my manager there, and I explained the stress I went through in sort of my stage 1 and then stage 2, and fortunately it just smoothed everything. So so I was okay. So but again, so in the middle of that 4 months, after 4 months,
then you went looking for solutions, I assume, for the stress.
Well, basically, yes, yeah. So so during that 4 months, as I said, I had already been into reading personal development, but I thought, okay, it's time to turn up the heat kind of thing on really narrowing down my focus to health. So that's what I did. So I started reading some books. I didn't read any books whatsoever relating to stress. I don't know why. Never visited one website about stress. I don't know why. I think I just thought, well, I can do this. I can beat this. And so anyway, so 4 months of testing, I started running regularly on a regular basis. I started 1 lap of the soccer oval, then 2 laps the next day, and then 3 laps a day. And within 2 or 3 weeks, I was running consistently around 6 kilometers a day, 5 days a week. So that was all part of it. So obviously exercise is a big deal when it comes to stress. That still didn't get me over this big hump and the suffering and everything that I was going for. So it took me till December, so 4 months later, when I had a huge breakthrough. So I was in a bookstore, second bookstore, and I picked up a book. And in that book was a technique. And I thought, okay, well, I could try that. So I tried this technique, and it was absolutely life-changing. I can almost literally say it saved my life, not just changed my life, it saved my life. And that's the technique I write about in the Activate Your Life book. And so to give you the statistics, that before and after, that 4 months prior, as I said, I could only work the 4 days a week, and I was the heart palpitations and the lightning shock sensations. After that, the next 7 months, while I was still working in the various factories, I ended up leaving that particular ladder factory, the ones as well. Over that next 7 months, that was that Monday to Friday, that was just normal. But I only took 1 day off work, and that of this particular technique that I discovered and then implemented. And because of that, obviously, that started to give me the sort of confidence I'm probably now to return to my normal profession. And so that's what I did. So it took me 7 months to sort of rehabilitate. I call it a self-rehabilitation. I never went to any doctors. I never took one pharmaceutical drug. Never went to one therapist. No, nothing of anything. Literally just did it 100% naturally. Yeah. And it got me back to a point where in July 2000, and must have been 7 by then, where I was to return in normal profession. And since then, there has been some ups and downs since then. And I've basically, courtesy of all that, I have now not only discovered more techniques and strategies and exercises, I have developed my own, and I've probably got a tool belt of over 50 different mental, emotional, and physical techniques, strategies, and exercises that can be used to beat stress, stop burnout, and overcoming work-related anxiety, but obviously the techniques can be used for any sort of anxiety, but obviously.
Can you still hear me, Matt? Because I lost you.
You have some questions, I'm sure. the summary is for me that I kind of secretly love it, because it's made me, it's forced me to become better, and for that I'm eternally grateful. It made me into the person I am today, and I must say I probably would not be living in Italy if it wasn't for that whole experience, because it put me on a trajectory that I could never have anticipated, could never have planned myself. So I do love to look at it as a blessing. I mean, especially the most difficult ones. They're, in my mind, the biggest blessings, but you just have to dig deeper, because it will take longer, but it's not like getting over a cold or a flu where 3 days later, oh, wow, I'm so grateful to be healthy again and without a flu. This is, okay, it took me, well, initially around 7 months to rehabilitate, and the sort of up and down experiences since, where I've had to force myself to learn more techniques and apply them and test, and that didn't work, that worked. Oh, why did that work? Why didn't that work? Okay, so I'm basically like a Rubik's Cube. I call it like a Rubik's Cube, where I've got the problem and I'm just trying to get all those colors to line up, as many of them as possible, and to get to the solution for that particular feeling or sensation that I'm experiencing on that moment, on that day, and during that month, or whatever the case may be. So overall, I'm really grateful for the experience, and now being in a position to obviously share, actually having neural techniques that can be applied in order to overcome and win and basically grow as a person as well. So it's been amazing. I'm eternally grateful.
It's an amazing journey. Before we wrap up, Matt, can you shortly describe the exercise you've shared in the book and the exercise that saved your life?
Sure. So I don't know if I can do it quickly, but I'll do my best. So the technique is called the 22 times 11 technique. So basically, the short version is you have a negative thought or belief. So I'll just use my experience. Basically, as part of the technique, you have to come with a completely opposite statement that you want to install into your mind in place of this old and or negative belief or thought. So the one I've tried many over the years, but one of the most effective ones I've tried that really worked was work is fun and easy. So obviously that is in direct opposition to work is stressful. So basically how it works is you have your belief statement that you want to install, and I will, because this is like installing software onto a computer, where you know how you press install and then it says, it comes up with a little box and it says, before we can install the new version, we have to uninstall the old version. So when you click install the old version. So this technique is a lot like you write out a statement, fun and easy. Directly under that, you'll have in your mind, you write down that thought immediately. So work is fun and easy. And it might be the immediate response that comes to mind is that's a lie. So you just write down that's a lie. And then no, work is fun and easy. And then the response might be, okay, that's garbage. Okay, so that's garbage. You write that out, and so on and so forth. So you do that 22 times in a row, with obviously 22 writing out the statements and 22 of those immediate responses that come to your mind. And the key is not to buy into those negative, that trash that's coming up, because some of it can be quite hardcore. I would have responses coming up along the lines of "you're going to die," and if you really start sort of marinate
Matt, it seems like we lost the connection of our call, unfortunately.
on that
I okay. I hear you again.
You there, Glenn?
Okay, Matt, I'm gonna say goodbye to you. Yeah, but we have a very difficult connection.
Hello, Glenn.
Yeah. Okay, Matt. Yeah, I can hear every now and then. I've got the next coach who is lined up. I thank you very much, Matt, for your contribution to today's talk and to the book, of course. And talk soon.
Am I on? No, no, I can't hear you. Oh.
Yeah, Daniel, you're on. Welcome.
Hey, Glenn, how's it going?
Can't you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. It was a little bit of a delay there for a second, I think.
I'm fine. How are you?
Wonderful.
Yeah, where are you based?
Right now, I'm in Boulder,
Where are
Colorado.
you calling from, Daniel?
Boulder, Colorado.
Okay, which is your home place? Do you live there?
Well, I live south of Boulder. I'm actually up at a retreat center right now because I'm about to start a 5-day training intensive with a cohort of coaches up here in the Boulder Hills. I'm actually looking right now down into Boulder into a beautiful sunrise right now, which is pretty awesome as we're engaging here.
Yeah, Boulder is a paradise for people who love nature and people who love adventure.
Oh yeah, it's a haven.
So it's no surprise that a professional downhill mountain biker has chosen to settle there.
Yeah, well, those Rocky Mountains to the west of me are a big playground for me. So yeah, that's why I originally moved out here to Colorado, because I'm originally from California, but I moved out here to Colorado 7 years ago. There
Okay,
you're back.
I'm back. Yeah, I heard everything you said. So okay,
Right
cool. So yeah, tell us a bit more about yourself. We already know that you're a professional downhill mountain biker and that you live in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And besides of that,
Yeah, that's professional mountain biking's my love, my passion. What I do for work is I'm a transformational life coach, and more specifically, I am a nature connected coach. And so what that means is I bring professional coaching skills and trainings with my clients and using nature as a container, as a teacher, as a metaphor for their personal transformation and growth. That's actually what I'm about to, the school that I got trained through, I actually work for them now. It's called Earth-Based Institute. And we're about to actually start a 5-day training intensive up here in Boulder. I'm actually at the kind of retreat, as you can see behind me. I'm in a really kind of cool little retreat building here called the Star House.
Whoa, sounds exciting, and
right,
and a really cool name also for the venue.
Yes, exactly. I agree.
Okay, what's when you talk about nature connected coaching, what can I imagine?
You can imagine not just being out in nature in a coaching session with me. I like to take my clients not just into a office or a building, but I like to get out into nature during our one-on-one deep dives together in whatever form or fashion that looks like. And having nature be a co-guide and collaborator in the client's personal process, whatever they're moving or wanting to up level or transform in their life, what I call the baseline of nature has a huge impact on our internal baseline. What I mean by baseline is, our thoughts, feelings, energy that we're embodying in the present moment. That's why, a lot of people love being in nature, because it has a very calming and peaceful baseline. And when our thoughts, feelings, emotions kind of align with that, calm and peaceful, all of a sudden clarity starts to come on board around some of these powerful big questions that may be getting in our way, or we're not able to figure out, like, oh, what is this thing I need to do in this part of my life, whether it be my business or my relationship or that next step in my life. Like, getting onto nature is going to be a lot more beneficial than trying to think your way through a next part of your life, inside of a office or building or something like that. Like, getting into the elements, because we are all a part of nature.
Yeah, it's so true. And for instance, on the 5-day retreat you're organizing, what kind of techniques or training sessions will you use?
Yeah, the students are about to learn some deep, what I call nature and neuroscience practices, and bringing in some like how our brain works, and that we have parts of our brain that, like that quote, what you focus on expands. And there's literally a part of our brain that what we say is important. If we say, like, oh my gosh, like, this thing's important to me, or I focus on it a lot, we're going to find it everywhere in our environment, our surroundings. And so using or being out in nature to kind of start to be aware of, what do we pick up on our environment? A lot of times for some people, they go out to nature and they see the beauty out in nature, and it's usually, okay, what are you like seeing in that beauty inside of your life right now? Or it could be, I'm looking for threats, I'm constantly looking for threats. It's like, okay, great, that shows that your mind kind of naturally is focused on problems instead of maybe solutions in your life, and so you can start to fix that. So yeah, we're getting into neuroscience and nature, and then they're going to learn about grief and loss as well this week, which is a really deep dive into how to really be with yourself and someone else when they're in the grieving process of their life, in whatever form or fashion that looks like, and how to really be with somebody and listen on a deep level, and not trying to, maybe fix things right away, but to hold space in a powerful way when someone's in a grieving process, whether they're aware of it or not. So that's what this week's going to be all about.
Whoa, so you're gonna dive deep.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm already intrigued by your work, and because I'm a very big nature person, adventure person also. That's also the way I got in touch with Derek, because I interviewed him for a book about adventurers. Let's talk about the exercise in the book, which the way you've discussed it was by means of an example of your career as a mountain biker, but how can anyone, even people who are not that sporty or not that adventure, how can they use the exercise in your book?
Yeah, and the exercise that I teach is a powerful visualization tool that I kind of self-taught myself through my experience in professional mountain biking. But the beauty of it is that it does not only apply to the extreme thrill seekers. This is a tool to really tune your mind and your body to be on board with the vision you have for your life, in whatever form or fashion that looks like. Like, I use the visualization practice in in my career, I used the visualization practice when I first asked out my girlfriend that I've been dating for the last almost 2 years now. It took me from a novice beginner mountain biker to a professional mountain biker. And when I've taught it and guided my clients through it in whatever part of their life they're working on with me, it's only had a profound impact and effects on them, because it's really a re-relating and rewiring of our perspective and our mind by using what I call our empowered past. What I mean by empowered past is that I'm going to use I'll kind of give an example from my mountain biking experience where I first learned this. Was that I'm a like you said, Glenn, I'm a professional, not just a professional mountain biker, I'm a professional downhill mountain biker. So if you ever are like on YouTube and you're watching videos of mountain bikers doing crazy things, going down mountains and down cliffs and you know, doing the most ridiculous things you can imagine on a mountain bike, that's what I do for fun. I enjoy doing that stuff. And in my progression of, you know,
our empowered past.
What's that? I think I'm getting that delay over here from the audio. Is there, if I keep going with my story here? Thumbs up. Okay. I would, you know, like I would be on a trail and there's this, you know, 10-foot rock drop into, you know, a scree of rocks below it. And if I like land, you know, off this drop, you know, a few inches to the left or the right, I'm gonna, you know, really hurt myself most likely. It's like I don't want to do that. Like I have this like very small margin of like where I want to land my bike, how I need to feel in my body
No, go
to
ahead.
land
Go
well.
ahead.
To land well. And what I realized is that like, okay, if I'm gonna go off this feature, if I'm gonna do this, you know, crazy thing on my bike, I gotta be relaxed, I gotta be calm, I gotta be poised, I gotta believe that I can do it, I gotta see myself doing it. Otherwise, I'm gonna be in the hospital, you know, real quick right now. And so what I started to do is like, okay, you know, I've never done this feature before. Like I've literally like first time on this trail, like it's something I've never done before, you know, whatever this drop or like down this chute through, you know, cliffs, whatever it is. And so it's like, okay, I have to see myself being successful. Otherwise, like I'm going to break things in my body. I got to be, you know, on point here. And so what I do is like, okay, I've never done this before. So I can't see myself really doing it successfully yet because I've never done it yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a memory from my past. It could even be from like earlier that day, or, you know, a uplifting, expansive, inspiring memory that, you know, really I can visualize with all my senses. And when I do that and I start to kind of visualize that, it would tune up my nervous system in my mind to really be on board. And rather than saying like, oh, this is impossible, or you're not going to do this, to like, okay, like I'm relaxed, I'm poised, I can see myself doing this thing. And what I've learned, especially, you know, through my work in coaching, is that, you know, a lot of times when we step into our unknown, in whatever form or fashion that looks like, you know, stepping into the unknown, the mind is going to be like, no, don't do that. That's terror. That's death. Like, do not go into the unknown. Like, stay safe, stay protected. And so, and the mind's going to find reasons from our past memories. You know, like, remember that one time, you know, in junior high when you gave that speech in front of the class and everyone laughed at you? That's going to happen again. And it's going to tell you reasons why not and give you validation of that from your past. So what I realized is like, okay, I can actually kind of do a bit of a mental and somatic hacking, or, you know, rewiring of, I'm going to focus on memories from my past that inspire me and empower me to lean into, you know, this unknown thing. You know, for me, it's mountain biking. I do this, you know, public speaking, coaching, you know, with people. As I'm going to like go into that memory that's going to inspire and empower me, so that the ideas and actions that I have and take are going to move me towards the vision I want to create in this part of my life. With mountain biking is like, okay, I'm going to think about that time where I was, you know, relaxed and having a good time, and I'd feel it and see it in my mind's eye. And then it's like, okay, now once I feel that way, like I feel like dialed and tuned up, I'm gonna go hit that feature. And I started to become really good at it. And I'd ride these really gnarly, crazy features successfully. And then not only do it successfully, but I was doing it better and faster than most of my peers in competition. And like literally this visualization practice of taking a memory from my empowered past and using that to see how I'm going to visualize my intended future, all of a sudden I started to create radical outcomes and success in all areas of my life. And not only was it success, but I was starting to get even better than some of my peers who were, better than me before that. And it's really a way to train the mind to see what we want to create, see what we want to, the outcomes we want to have happen, rather than the mind seeing like, oh, it's not going to go well, you can't do this, you're going to fail, like this isn't safe. Like you're going to train the mind to work on your behalf rather than telling you what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's a very powerful tool. Daniel, what I wanted to ask you, since our next coach is not yet online, if we could do a short guided visualization by you.
Great. And Glenn, would you be willing to be my guidee? Would you mind if I guided you through this?
Yeah, for sure. I would love
right on.
to.
So the first and most important thing is that this is a mental, and I say emotional and somatic practice. And what I mean by that is that we got to get the mind, emotions, and the body on board together. And so I'm just going to have you take a few deep, what I call surrender breaths. Inhaling with the lungs as much as you can right now, holding at the top, releasing it at that same amount or speed of your inhale. Hold at the bottom. And just go through a few rounds of those breaths. Letting the mind and the body kind of start to relax, letting go of any tension you might be holding in the body. Letting go of what's been going on in your life, letting go of what's going to happen in your life, and just be in the present moment, be in the here and now. And I want you to think about, it could even be your day today, or it could be something coming up in your life in the near future, maybe something that's a challenge, or that you're not quite sure how the outcome's going to be. There's a bit of an unknown there. It could even be, your today, you're about to engage with a whole bunch of coaches. Like, how do you want this day to look today, for example? And what is that feeling you want to feel during your day today? And just when you've got that feeling you want to feel, just go ahead and say it out loud.
I want to feel fun. Excitement.
Excitement.
Feel a sense of curiosity. I want to feel lightness. Relaxation.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. I'm gonna stick with that first one you said. You said fun. And I want you to, as you're still going through these breaths, just let your mind start to kind of go through your life and start to think about, when was a time when you were really having fun, engaging maybe with your friends, or maybe you were out in nature, you're having fun, moving the body. But you're really feeling that expansive emotion on a deep level inside of your mind and your nervous system. Just go to that memory, whatever comes to mind first. There's no right or wrong memory.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're replaying that memory, play it like it's happening in the here and now. Like, be in that memory, like you're in that experience again right
Mm-hmm.
now. Like you're seeing what you're seeing. You're smelling the smells. You can touch things, you can taste things, you're using all your senses. Like, this memory is happening in this present moment. you're back in that place, that you're having that experience. It's happening right now because your mind is seeing it as so. Just kind of play with it a little bit. Just kind of go through that imagery. The more vivid you can make it, the better. Just have gratitude for that memory as you're replaying it in the mind. And then as you are replaying that memory, allow yourself to pendulate your focus from the past into your unknown future. And that could be today. You want to have, fun and lightness and excitement today. Start to see what ideas or imagery and ideas and outcomes your mind comes up with from that fun and excitement after feeling that memory in your body and nervous system. What comes to mind as you visualize your day today? Engaging with people from all over the world. Allowing your mind to see the results and outcomes that you want to create. Knowing that seeing it first in your mind's eye is the first step towards creation. And if you notice your mind starting to maybe kind of go down some low road thinking and starting to see but what if this happens or that happens? Just when you start to see the mind do that, just go back to that memory again. Go back to that imagery and that moment in your life or that experience in your life that really was, brought out the fun, excitement in you. And when you start to feel that again, then go back to visualizing your intended future. And go back and forth as much as you want. Because the most important thing here is to tie that expansive emotion and feeling in your body with your mind perceiving from that space into your intended future and tying the emotion, there's my finger, tying the emotion and the imagery together. Because when you have those two together, that's what creates. And it's the most successful people in the world that have been able to tie those two together that have made amazing things happen. And when you're ready, take a few more deep breaths. Let me just love to hear what you notice there. Oh, no, I can tell you're saying things. I can't hear any of it. I'm getting nothing. I can tell you're like into your microphone, but I can't hear anything. No, that just turns me off. I'm getting nothing, Glenn.
Hey, Daniel.
Hallie, what's happening?
I don't know how I get in. I guess I was the next guest, and then somehow it popped me in.
Oh man,
Okay,
I'm
can you
honored that
hear
you're
me?
going right after me.
Can you hear me again, Guy?
Yes, yes.
Should
can
I
hear you
get
again.
off so you guys can finish?
Okay. I had a
Um,
bug on my computer. Yeah, so you can stay if you just mute yourself, maybe.
Yeah, Glenn, I
Can you
couldn't hear
still hear me,
anything after
Daniel?
that. What's that? I can hear you, Glenn. I could.
So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. To continue with the visualization, so I felt my states changing on the spot because I was a
Mhm.
bit stressed for this live stream. So by doing the visualization, even if it was only 8 or 9 minutes,
Mhm.
I felt myself becoming more relaxed and more excited about it.
Mhm. Yeah, right on. And that's the thing, is that it's almost an instantaneous shift that can happen when we do this practice. And and then with it is, the next important piece is that when you start to feel those feelings and starting to see, like some new ideas and thoughts around this part of your life, for example, engaging with, a bunch of coaches today, is that then you take action on it. And it's like, okay, like starting to, like, when you train, what you're doing here is training the imagination, tool inside of our brain, is that you got to train it, that imagination. Like, if you just visualize, then you got to take action on it, because otherwise, it's like visualization is great, but it only takes us so far. It gets the mind on board. The next step is, all right, now you got to do it. And so, and doing it from that expansive state, like take that state, like believe and imagine your way into your intended, outcomes you want to create, and use those tools, like what I call our superpowers, which is belief and imagination, and really tune those up, because, we are incredibly powerful human beings. We have so much potential inside of us, and so many of us are going through life using just a small amount of that potential. And this visualization tool is really a way to start to amplify that to a greater degree, because no matter what you want to create in your life, if your mind and heart are not on board, you're only going to be able to, create half or a quarter of the success that is possible for you. And this tool is really a way to get the mind and the heart and the body on board, so that you are fully committed, focused, and in that flow state when you're engaging with the world, your life, whatever it is that you're focused on. Can't hear you again.
Yeah, so true. Okay, I'm gonna continue with Hallie. We're a bit over time. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Hello.
Have an amazing retreat. Hey, Hallie. What a beautiful background you have.
Thank you.
Do you hear me, Hallie?
So I was watching Daniel's video. I think the problem is that there's a very long delay.
Yeah.
It's like 1 minute.
So if I talk
ve-
now, you only hear it 10 seconds later.
It's like 30 seconds. It's very long.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay, you can already start.
Technical difficulties. Okay, well, I guess I can introduce myself. So I'm Hallie, and Glenn, can you hear me? Okay, there's still a long delay.
So
Okay,
I'm moving to another room where I hope I will have a better internet connection.
Okay, so you can hear me. I just think that your sound is delayed for me, so let's see if this works.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, great. Now it's no longer delayed. So I will introduce myself. I'm Hallie Claire Bass, and I wrote the chapter about energetic intuitive grounding. I'm a coach and a healer. I also offer human design readings. So I work with clients in a number of different ways to help them solve problems in their lives. And previously, I was a business coach, helping folks to follow their intuition and create a business that was in alignment with their inner authority. And I was doing that in kind of a spiritual way. So I decided to shift into more of being a spiritual coach and helping people with more existential questions and helping people to relieve anxiety, to ground, to connect with themselves, and to feel better in life. So that's what I'm doing right now. Glenn? Okay. Well, let's see. What else can I share with you guys in the meantime? My exercise in the book is about intuitive grounding. And this is a process that I do with my clients before every call. And what it does is it helps bring you into the present moment. It helps you connect with earth energy, which something that I learned when I studied intuition medicine is that the heartbeat of the earth is 7 or 8 beats per minute. And so they've measured this, they've measured the pulse of the earth with tools that can measure sound resonance and vibration resonance. And so why is energetic grounding so helpful and so calming and bringing you into the present moment is that it slows you down and syncs you with that natural rhythm of the earth. And therefore you have an opportunity to slow down and reduce your anxiety and to be more calm in your body and to be more present with yourself. So that's the exercise. And one of the things that really moved me about this exercise was that it was the first thing that I learned when I began my spiritual journey. I found an intuitive healer and she taught me grounding. And for the first time in my life, I was like, oh my gosh, there's a way that I can actually focus my vision, my inner vision, and help myself energetically to feel more calm, to feel more connected and more in my body. Because as someone who is very spiritual, I do tend to be a lot in my head, and I also tend to feel like I'm connected with a lot that's going on outside of me. So to have a practice where I can tune my vision and my intuitive capacities inward and connect in with the earth, it's been really helpful to slow down and just receive that energy from the earth and visualize it moving through the body in a way that can slow you down and bring you into present time. Glenn, are you there? I think what I might do for anyone who's watching is I think I might reschedule this interview so that you can get a better sense of my work and have an interview that is actually working. So I'm going to sign off, and hopefully I will be able to see you guys tomorrow.
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. I can hear you. It seems like you was having some technical difficulties earlier.
Yeah, I'm switching over from my computer to my smartphone because my computer wasn't working apparently. I'm just gonna put some books on my desk and then put my smartphone on the books. 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, we're good. Yes, Yashika.
Yeah. Cool.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Please present yourself to everyone who's watching and to me because I don't know you yet.
Well, my name is Yashika Divine. Coach Yashika is what everyone calls me. and I am a professional life coach. And I deal with a lot of individuals who are seeking a deeper meaning in their experience in life and wanting to make better decisions from an authentic place in their human experience, so to speak. And I use a synthesis of esoteric information and knowledge such as astrology, Chinese I Ching. I use psychology, and human design, which is what it falls under. And I think Coach Holly was talking a little bit about that before I was here. But I use that in addition to a number of things to really jumpstart a new perspective to my clients, and help them deprogram from old, outdated paradigm thinking, and old, outdated things that could be from like their childhood, things that they could have got conditioned from over the years. And we really sit together and tailor a very unique strategic plan to better help them move into a different awareness, a new fresh perspective of making decisions, and not just having one option or a plan A and that's it. I really encourage my clients to look at things from just a holistic point of view. And we really utilize everything in the elements to bring a sense of calmness and mental clarity, so that they can rely on their inner GPS. They can rely on their intuition, and they can rely on signals from their body that may give off certain emotions or feelings, so that they can become more aware of it when they are getting ready to make a decision. Pretty life-changing decisions. I work with a number of clients who are in the middle of getting ready to make some really life-changing decisions. And so part of our time together is really strategizing different pathways to get to the place that they want to be, next level in life.
Yeah. When you work with clients, do you follow a certain school of techniques, or is it really a broad palette of techniques you're using?
Yeah, I don't follow any certain school of thought or ideology, because just like I wrote in the chapter in this book, everything is one. Everything leads, to this oneness of connection within ourselves, within this experience. And we all want to feel this bliss, this utopian state of mind, and just living from a positive mind frame, and to manifest these things that we want in life. And, you can't do that when you are full of, trauma, or full of things, or overlooking things, or overworking and stuff too. That's some of the things that we have to be careful of, even as coaches, is overworking ourselves. Even though we may be skillful in a certain area, we have to be mindful not to put too much on our plate that can, weigh us down. So I use pretty much a broad spectrum of things, where if you do come from a single school of thought, I use that as your primary platform, and I kind of work with my clients on what they already know, and then introduce them to new school of thoughts.
Mm-hmm. How did you get in coaching yourself?
Wow. Well, I would say it was around probably 2012. It was a few years after, a couple years after I came back from studying abroad in Montreal, and it was just a different way of life over there versus the US. When I was living over there in the US, it was like so many different, I was exposed to so many different ways of, exposed to so many different ways of living, just simple things. And I decided that, coaching was really a lane for me that I could excel in, to share this way of thinking outside of the box. Whereas most people where I am from, kind of just stick to the programming, stick to the typical programming of doing certain things as such society has set up for them. And it's pretty much it's like a safe security thing. And no one really wants to feel unsafe, and no one really wants to feel fearful of, not having like a plan. And so I feel like coaching would allow me to show other opportunities, and give people opportunities to see another plan. It doesn't have to be so black and white. It can be so colorful, and it can look so many different ways. And it can feel also amazing, because sometimes and oftentimes people do things they do things because they're told to do it, and it doesn't feel good to them. But then once you start to do the things that make you feel good, you realize that it's kind of outside of the norm. Sometimes it's outside of the box, and you may have critics that are on the outskirts judging you, or on the, just kind of just watching from those seats of judgment. So I wanted to be the voice for those and help people get through those challenging struggle periods of trying to figure stuff out. It's just really trying to figure out, this pathway and what these options look like. And then if I do this, what these options can look like for yourself in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can really relate to what you're saying, because if you start your hero's journey, as we call it, then you going a different pathway of most people, and sometimes you feel like a stranger. You feel very strange, and then it's really important to have kind of coach or mentor.
Yeah, it's really, really important. I mean, I've worked with individuals as young as middle school, and I've worked with individuals as old as, in their 50s, so it really doesn't matter where you're at, as long as your mind is ready for that change and that shift. And just having, like you said, someone in your corner, someone to coach and guide you on these different pathways. I've had people to help me. I have had mentors myself. I've had coaches, and they all were assisting me in my journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the exercise you shared in the book, which I truly love. It's personally, it's one of my favorites in the book. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Explain
Thanks.
it, please.
Yeah. So, well, me and my husband, we have a company. We call the Natural Guys Company, and it's really all about living holistic lives, right? And before I met my husband, I was going through a dark space, and it took me down a road of isolation, and I was isolated away from people, and I was isolated away from society. I just chose to be away. And what happened was that my daughter, I had gave birth to a daughter in February, and then I lost her at 7 months in October. So I literally went through 1 year of so joy and pain. I knew what it felt like to give birth and feel connected to this little girl. I was connected to her in my stomach. And then when she came, when I birthed her, I felt connected with her. And then all of a sudden, by the end of the year, she was gone. So I literally felt this connection, and then I felt disconnected. And then I did not have a sense of like oneness anymore. I couldn't think straight. I didn't have any sense of clarity in my mind. Couldn't produce a clear thought at all. So a part of what I did for practice, which I wrote about in the book, is returning back to nature and using your senses to bring this sense of oneness back through nature. So there's this new normal that I introduced in the book, and it's through forest bathing and forest therapy. Because when she passed, I was mourning, and the first thing I could think of was just put myself in my work, just kind of dig back into work and just kind of overwork myself, back and get back into the field and just get back to work. But I still wasn't feeling, a sense of true connection to anything anymore. But the only thing I could think of was nature, like return back to nature, go back into nature and start there again, like start where it all started from. Our body is mostly water, and that's a really powerful element. And so when she died, when she passed on, I cremated her body, and her ashes, I did a ceremony. I'm an ordained minister, so I performed a ceremony in the Atlantic Ocean back in the States and returned her ashes back to nature. Mm-hmm. And when I did that, I left again and went to Costa Rica, and I just really set forth on finding places that brought me more of this holistic experience of being around nature and immersing myself. And that's what forest bathing and forest therapy is about. It's really about immersing your whole self into nature. It's, just because it's forest therapy or forest bathing doesn't mean you have to be in like a whole forest setting. But just so happened, I actually live in the middle of a green forest here in Berlin. So that's pretty awesome that I'm able to like really live out this exercise all the time. And, from just the act of itself of walking into nature and seeing all the trees, using visualization techniques, listening, feeling, touching, it allowed me to just go back to the basics. And the basics is that we are all connected to nature, and this is where we're from. And that's where we're going to return, once we're done with this outer shell. And it's only temporary. So, it really took those steps of going through practicing more and more to really feel myself rooted. And I had to feel rooted again. So quite naturally, this is where the trees will come into place, where, I choose to be connected to these trees and visualizing myself standing firm and just getting support from the trees. And then the reciprocation of what the trees do naturally is give off oxygen. So not only am I being supported through the firmness, the root groundedness of the trees, I'm being supported through air, through oxygen, and the flowiness of giving and receiving in that way.
Mm. Yeah, I've started reading The Hidden Life of Trees. You're familiar with the book?
I am, yes.
Yeah, it's written by a German guy, I think.
Yeah, I think it is. The term forest bathing was coined in Japan, actually, like in the 80s, and it's really, really big over there in Japan. So, yeah, I'm pretty aware.
The biggest lesson I take out of the book for now, because I haven't finished yet, is that we as humans, we can learn to care for each other the way that trees do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny. I always reference trees. Trees is like amazing. I always reference trees because they give off information through their roots to other trees. You may see this big tree with a huge trunk, just surrounding more other small trees. And what we don't know is that these trees are communicating. One tree is giving off the nutrients that the other trees need. And some of us, as an archetype in this world, are meant to be these hub trees, are meant to give off more information, to be that well of resource to their environment, to their communities, to their tribes, and people around them. So trees are amazing. They're so important. And then also in the chapter, I've lived in the city. I've lived in big cities. I lived in New York, I lived in New Jersey. And I mean, you find in beautiful natural environments there. But I also learned from working in Manhattan, in New York City, sometimes you overlook just the smallest patches or pieces of nature around. And, you know, something as simple as, you know, providing your space, whether it's a workspace, your living space, your office space, with trees, or I'm sorry, with plants that produce oxygen, that gives off a lot of oxygen. So I also listed a short list of plants that, you know, you can purchase too, because some people, as you know, always give excuses, you know, and I deal with it all the time with people. They always give excuses for something, some reason why they can't do this or they can't do that. But I also have learned that, you know, you can create your own environment. I'm big on feng shui. I love feng shui. So you can definitely create those pockets and replicate and duplicate nature inside of the nature environment inside of your home as well, with plants. And that works as well. I mean, you can just sit there with the plants, have huge ones, small ones, and you can put them around and just become one again with nature and their healing abilities, you know. And I really did use, you know, nature to be a catalyst for healing. No phones, you know, no electronics, you know, no Facebook, no social media, none of that at the time, you know, because you go into the forest with so much on your mind, but then you come out with a different, fresh perspective, you know, less stress, you know, and your immune system working a lot more better, because, you know, as we know, we got a lot of mandatory mask situations going on around the world. So think about, that's why I titled it New Normal, because we've already decided that the new normal was going to be, you know, wearing masks all the time, public transportation, going inside of stores, and we are becoming desensitized to just the mask all the time, and we're not really realizing how much we're restricting our breath, and we're inhaling our own carbon dioxide, which is not healthy. So, you know, those little things are reminders to go back into and immerse yourself in this nature, to get the medicine, the plant medicine and the medicinal things that you need, that comes natural, you know, that kind of societies like, you know, it's not really paying attention to no more, because everything is so mandated and, you know, pro this whole, you know, situation that's going on around the world. But nature is always going to be there. Nature is always going to be there. Nature's going to be the last one standing at the end of the day. Yeah, it's true. Okay, I have the feeling I could listen to you for hours, but unfortunately our time is up. Okay, thank you for having me. It was really lovely to meet you. Thank you. Have a nice day. You too. Yeah. Bye. Bye-bye.
Hello.
Okay, I was muted. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Glenn. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. I had a nice visualization session about half an hour ago with one of the coaches. So he made me shift from a bit stressed for this live stream to becoming really excited.
Good. That's good.
Yeah. Okay, Ditte, before I let you explain what you're doing and how you help the people through the exercise in the book, I'm gonna explain to the people who are watching how I met you, which is in the UPW Tony Robbins Facebook group.
Yes.
I will be joining my first Tony Robbins event in 2 weeks in November. And there's a huge Facebook group with over 50,000 people who already joined a Tony Robbins event. And I posted what I posted a post a couple of months ago. What makes you stand out as a coach? Something in those lines. And then the only response that really stood out to me was the one of Ditte, because she shared that she's a clairvoyant and she does telepathy and animal communication.
Yes.
Yeah, that made me very curious, and I guess that a lot of people who are listening now are also curious to hear more about that exactly. So go ahead, Ditte.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So to me, it's basically the same thing. And the thing it has in common with telepathy, clairvoyance, mediumship, animal communication is basically using your senses and believing in something is bigger than you and I. And basically what is spirituality? It's all about love and energy. And I just practiced a lot during the last 22 years in finding the difference between being a clairvoyant, being a telepath, or an animal communicator, and what's the difference here. And I saw that it's something that we all have the capacity to do. So I don't think that, you're not a spiritual person or my neighbor aren't spiritual. I believe that we are all born to be loving creatures. And somewhere on the road, we just simply forgot about using our senses and being more in contact with our emotions than the analytical part of our brain.
Mm-hmm. That's something interesting and relates to what Yashika was talking about. I guess it relates that by losing our connection with nature, we also lose connection to our senses. Is that something you feel also?
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with what she said. I didn't hear everything, but the part I listened to, I totally agree on. And, I was just a kid growing up here in Copenhagen, Denmark, where I live. Was born in South Korea, and I got adopted to Denmark. And of course, I felt different, and I looked different than the friends I had, or, the pupils in the school I grew up with. But I also had this way of being sensitive in the world that also made me feel very much different. And I think that many people who are sensitive can totally relate to this aspect of feeling so different and so lonely. And during my teens, and my childhood, I predicted so many things, but I didn't know what to do with all this. And I saw it whenever people were going to die, but I also was able to manifest things and attract things in my life, which I never thought was possible attracting. And is it because I'm creative or I have discipline? Maybe, but I basically believe that we have everything in ourselves, and the capacity of doing great and doing greater than we are doing, because we have, all doors are open if we go chase it. And that's kind of like Tony Robbins thinking, I guess, but I'm doing it in my way, or more spiritual way. And this is also what I'm sharing in Activate Your Life, the book number 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's go ahead with the exercise you've presented in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can explain the exercise.
I think that to me it was important to do the exercises for just common people that don't think they're spiritual at all. And many people have heard about the book The Secret, that was very popular like 20 years ago or 15 years ago. But a lot of people are attracting from the ego, so it's very ego-based. And this is what people don't get, that the universe will never send things to you that will boost your ego. It will send something that will evolve you or develop you as a person. So that's all about the rehearsal, which I'm, contributing with in the book.
That's an interesting viewpoint. I never heard that one before.
No? About
No?
the ego?
No? But I
you're-
read in your chapter, or yeah, I think was a chapter, that everything that happens to us is a lesson.
Yeah, I totally believe that. I don't think that the universe or whatever the world is trying to do something bad for any of us. We are experiencing pain in our lives for us to being able to develop or evolve.
Mhm.
Don't you
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah, for sure. But I can see how when bad things happen to your life that you don't immediately have the reaction that, oh, this is a lesson, but it just feels shit at the moment.
Yeah, but whenever we are experiencing pain, there's always a positive thing to gain from it, because what people should know, or what I would like to share more, is that whatever people are projecting on you or doing towards other people has absolutely nothing to do with you. It is everything to do about themselves. And when we get that, we'll know what to learn from it and evolve instead of being the victim of a given situation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I kind of understand. So, so now I'm kind of changing my view on your coaching while we're talking now, because I had the impression that when I looked up on your website that it was really more spiritual. But then reading your exercise and discussing with you now, you also it's not woo-woo. It's really going through a thought process that makes you look at the world in a different way and look at things that happen to you in a different way. Is that right?
Yeah, that is right. And that is what spirituality is all about, because, working as an animal communicator or clairvoyant with all that woo-woo thing, the only thing that makes it woo-woo is that it's unexplainable. But I will do my best to explain, how do we use energy? How do we use energy? Everybody knows that whenever it's full moon, people are acting crazy or they have bad sleep, and it's proven because the moon is, drawing in the water. The human beings consist out of 80% water. So of course we'll get bad sleep during the full moon, the 3-4 days it'll take, that's not woo-woo, it's just energy.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is an explanation for most of it, but the thing that is the most difficult part to explain is how do I get information? By using my intuition. And are we intuitive people, all of us? Oh yeah, yes we are. But trusting it is different. It's more different. And I think that all human beings are put in this world to become more loving people. I think that we're all born with love. I don't think that we'll find a baby, that is evil at all. I don't. But I think that there can be circumstances around a baby and a childhood that will provoke evilness in a human being or darkness in everybody if life is rough enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like you're the person I can ask the next question to, because I have the feeling you're someone who thinks on a very large scale. How can we then evolve as humanity, as a globe with, what is it, 7 or 8 billion people, towards a more loving global community?
Well, it begins here first, right? So if everybody was more loving to themselves, they wouldn't be projecting it out on other people. They wouldn't have the need for power, money, They wouldn't feel all those bad feelings if everybody were more whole as a person. So that job totally begins with the individual, and then it will spread out.
It's true.
Yeah, because I don't think that we can see. Yeah, of course we can make a campaign or a wave that people will be affected by. Let's take 9/11, for example. It's not like it was an event, an awful event, but that made the New Yorkers remember what it felt like to stand together as a collective in New York. And we just had the COVID-19. That was the entire world. We were all in it together. Could we be more understanding towards each other after such an event? Or didn't we learn anything at all? Are we still, in our cars, overspending, overusing the planet?
Yeah.
So I think that there will be many events, or I don't know if it's natural to catastrophic, things that will have to happen to humanity to make us remember that we are all in it together, that we are a collective. And I think that the worse the event will be, the more we will remember love. So I just wish for everybody just to remember love to begin with.
Yeah, so that we don't have to go through the disaster.
Exactly.
That's a really impressive insight. So we're almost done with our time, but let's dive a little bit deeper in the exercise. So if I remember well, the idea is that you write down the things you want in your life and then you couple them to emotions.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
How do you go further from there?
Then you would be able to, because usually when people are manifesting things, they will be manifesting materialistic things. For example, I want a better job, being capable of buying a house. That is all in the material world. So when we take it another step further, it will be try and come up with the emotion of being in the house. Would that be, I feel safe, I feel freedom, I feel calmer, and then you can manifest a house, but the emotion needs to be with the picture in front of your inner eye. So the biggest manifestation and the fastest way of doing a manifestation will be visualization, the emotions, and say it out loud or write it down.
Okay.
But I definitely think that the reason why people aren't succeeding in the manifestation is because they are wishing for material things. They're not being like concrete, or for example, I want a boyfriend or I want a girlfriend. Okay, we can all have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but take it further. So I want a boyfriend or a girlfriend because I want to feel loved. So it will be, it will be faster just manifesting, I want love instead of a person.
Yeah. And then you further have to define what kind of love, because if you just want love, then you can just as well buy a dog and then you will feel love.
You'll actually get the highest love in the planet if you just love animals, but the animals aren't evolving us as fast as the human beings are, because even though the animals have their own mental state and personal profiles and behavioral issues in the world, the human beings are just being much more selfish. And when we are selfish, we are provoking each other to evolve. Because we have an ego that constantly will say, Glenn, you need to do something in order for me to feel better.
Yeah.
That happens every single day in all our relations. This is why relationships are so hard.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have a final message?
Go buy the book. Just, it's been amazing being part of a book. It's amazing being part of that. You and Derek are creating this community for all of the coaches in there, and we'll spread it out to everybody we know in the entire world, and that's a very, very good way to start. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I agree with Ditte. Buy the book.
Buy the book. Right.
Thank you very much. Have a nice afternoon in Denmark.
Yes, have a nice night in France.
I'm in Belgium now.
Oh, okay, so we're close. We're very close.
Yeah, I've come closer to you. Watch out.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'll be at your front door.
Come and visit. Great. All right, bye.
Bye.
Good morning. Well, it's morning for me. Is it nighttime for you, Glenn, or what time is it?
It's 4:30 now. 4:20 p.m.
You've been at this for 2.5 hours already, just about.
Yeah, exactly. Started at 2 p.m.
That's incredible. Let's a round of applause for Glenn for doing this marathon already. Like, I only have to, talk for 20 minutes, and the energy you still got going, and the insightfulness questions I've been watching since I got up at 6 a.m. my time. It's been fantastic. So I'm really excited. I'm all the way here on the west coast of the U.S. in California, so excited to be here.
Okay, it's cool. So you're back from traveling, because you did a lot of traveling last couple of months, no?
I did. Yeah, I was traveling a good amount in Central America, Costa Rica, saw Belize, a little bit of Atlanta, Georgia. So yeah, getting out, seeing the world, and having some experiences I'm looking forward to sharing through meditations and other ways. So I know not everyone can travel easily depending on what country they're in. So looking to provide tools and ways for people to get that sense of adventure, no matter where they are or what their circumstances are.
Mm-hmm. So when you joined Activate Your Life, I immediately went to your website to see who you are. And the first thing I saw was something I really connected to, which is my values. So your values: growth, love, and fun. I think they are amazing to have on the top of your list of values. Can you explain to us, Justin, how important and how they come to fruition in your own life, those values: growth, love, and fun?
Yeah, so probably the first one, growth, probably for most people that are watching this right now, they probably have that value. It's almost just becomes automatic when you start getting into stuff like this and looking for exercises to improve your life. And for me, really, the other two were the ones that I really wanted to put a focus on, because sometimes we get so much into growth that it becomes like growth at all costs, like that old no pain, no gain. We're just like, well, I want the gain, I want the growth, and we'll just end up being like, why is life so challenging? Why is it so hard? And it's like, oh, we're missing out on love and we're missing out on fun. And the more I put focus on those two, surprise, surprise, the more growth comes, because it comes a lot more easily, it comes a lot more gently, and we're more likely to do the things that help us grow if we're doing it, in a loving way, if we're loving ourselves and loving other people, and then if we're open to other people, loving us by sharing their knowledge and giving their help, and then of course fun, like, it's just fun, right? Like, it's okay, not everything has to be so serious, and it just kind of like taking that childlike mindset to a lot of things, and like noticing how much fun a child has when they're growing. Like, every experience from the simplest of like, just starting to use their hands to pick something up, like you see their eyes light up and they're just having fun. And we can do that too as adults. And the more we do it, the more we're gonna, because it's really understanding what motivates us. And if we have feel good feelings associated with something, we're going to do that thing a lot more often. Just chances are we associate with things unconsciously, through marketing, like, oh, let's go get some fast food. Let's, get some alcohol. Let's go get some some drug. But if we start to associate that with, you know, like I'm having fun now talking to you, and a lot of people would go like, oh my gosh, like getting on an interview, waking up early, like, oh, that sounds awful. But I'm like, I'm seeing the fun because I finally get to talk with Glenn, who you and me, it's been like 4 months, you know, over, you know, emails and Facebook Messenger, and it's great to finally meet. And isn't it cool that we're, you know, a continent apart and we can have this interaction where, you know, probably not even 5 years ago would have been a must-have that we would have been like, well, we'll have to do this in person, but we can do this. So it's fun to look at like the good of like any event, any opportunity as a way of growing.
Yeah, for sure. And I was just making the reflection with when COVID-19 hit last year. For me, it was hard because I noticed how our society was prioritizing security over fun and love. Although I know it's a very difficult discussion and it's hard to talk about it when you don't know all the details about the data and the virology of the virus. But then on the other hand, because I was living in France and we had a very strict confinement, we had to stay in our home all the time except for 1 hour a day where we had the right to go outside. So then, by being forced to live inside the house and having less options, you had to be creative and discover new ways to find love and fun, even in a very difficult situation. And that was also very opening for me to notice how I could, for example, have much more fun just playing simply with my dog, which before I would rather go see my friends because my friends are cooler to hang out than with my dog. But now I could really appreciate such a simple thing as playing with my dog. Just as a side note.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. Like, I think you really are identifying, you know, the good that can come out of anything, even though it may seem really bad. I know I used to hear people say this, like, you know, that, oh, at some point you'll be so blessed by the tragedies that came into your life. And I was like, oh, this person's such an asshole saying that. And as the more I've gone through difficult times, and like we all went through the difficult time of COVID in 2020, the more I find it to be true because of like stuff like that, where we realize how adaptable we are and how creative we can get, that like, hey, there's more ways to have fun and experience love when we're open, you know, to trying something new. Because, you know, you probably had that dog for a while, but because you couldn't do these other things, you were able to have that, and you'll never lose that ability. Like, you've gained something, you know, from that loss, and now you're starting to get back, you know, the ability, hopefully, to, you know, actually go out with your friends, and it becomes a more balanced, more fulfilled life, and not just, you know, dependent on, you know, the one source of fun and good times. And so I think that's a great example. So I'm glad you shared it.
Mm. Yeah. So let's talk about the course of your life, because you had a lot of fun, a lot of traveling, a lot of adventures last couple of months, but you have a very scientific background, right?
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, my life hasn't always been that fun and that adventurous. I used to, you know, be very focused on, you know, being secure, being safe. Like, you know, when I was, you know, growing up, I spent most of my time in my room because that my sister and my parents couldn't bother me there. It was a very controllable space. You know, so I was really good at school, great at math, great at science, which is why I got into computers and eventually into engineering. So I have a PhD in electrical engineering, and I've been doing, you know, work on complex systems and their programming. And in the past 5 or 10 years, I've gotten really interested in applying that to the most complex system there is, which is our human mind, and, you know, how that functions and how we can program that to basically, you know, live more joyful, loving lives that allow us to grow in the way that we choose, and not just that maybe we picked up, you know, when we were growing up. Because I know when I was growing up, I picked up on the programming from, you know, my mom, which, you know, was a lot of like, oh, be afraid, like that could hurt you, you know, that could be scary, that you might get sick, you know, or some of the programming from my dad, which is, you know, if things are stressful, you get angry when you get stressful, or you just shut down. And that type of programming was not helpful for me, and it's probably not helpful for most people. So it's, you know, how do we go from how we've been to how would we like to be, which is experiencing, you know, all the emotions, you know, in a healthy, productive way, so we can get to more feelings of love and more feelings of fun, which is what I like to place my focus on as much as possible. It's, you know, acknowledging when, hey, stuff sucks. How do I handle this suckiness, experience it, and move on to, you know, what I want to enjoy in life, which is connecting with cool people and having adventures, things like that.
Mm-hmm. I've noticed also on your website that you have a podcast. I listened to one episode the day before yesterday.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. It was the one about the friends who was your first troll on the internet, because he was like commenting on you because you were overly happy or something like that.
Yeah. You know, there's an old college buddy that, you know, we met him in the dorms, and he just, you know, unsolicited reached out on Facebook to like, hey, you don't need to be sharing, you know, all these pictures of you in places having a good time. You know, get that, you know, you've been coming off of some hard times with your divorce and your depression, but you know, it looks like you're trying a little bit too hard. And at first I was like, oh man, this hurts. And I wanted to tell him. But then I reminded myself that, you know, anybody that's successful ends up having people that are criticized. And I was like, I finally have someone criticizing me. I've got enough visibility that someone cares enough and is having a reaction. And then I was trying to think of, well, what's his life like? You know, maybe he's going through some hard times. Maybe he wishes he could be doing stuff like that. And we had a little bit of good conversation about, you know, things like that. And I didn't have to add to, you know, the criticism or the hater culture by hating on him back. I just kind of said, okay, thank you for the input, appreciate it. Moved on. And yeah, so I like to try to share stuff like that, you know, challenges in life and how to make them a little bit more easier to deal with, so that we don't have to get bogged down. Because you know, I like to think of, you know, people that we know of that are doing, you know, great things. We never know all of their life, but maybe like Elon Musk or, you know, Steve Jobs back when he was alive. And it's like, do you think either one of them, you know, or Oprah, for example, do you think either one of them gets bogged down because one person doesn't like what they're showing or how they're showing up? And it probably doesn't really affect them very much. And so, yeah, that's what I like to share on the Engineering, Emotions, and Energy podcast, is just ways for people to de-stress, feel a little bit more energized with their life, and be able to kind of find, you know, ways to find their passion and pursue it. And if we're getting hung up on, you know, criticism, it's going to be hard to relax, and it's going to be hard to, you know, really focus on what we want to focus on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. How does the exercise in the book relate to your work and to the things we discussed now?
So the exercise in the book, and I was like super excited when I saw the final version of the book. I'm in one of the first exercises in part 3, magical manifesting. And what's great about the exercise is that it seems like magic because it can be so effective, yet it really is using kind of, you know, very scientifically proven things you can experience. You know, I strongly encourage anybody to, you know, go through and just, you know, hey, try it out. You're going to notice that, like, okay, this seems like it's going to work. You don't have to just take my word for it, or, you know, science's rule. You know, the most important experiment is the self-experiment of, is this going to work for me? And because a lot of times it's, you know, there's something where we want to go in life, there's something we want to experience. And, you know, some of the previous interviewees have it, you know, I would say they actually have some really great helping starter exercises, because this really helps accelerate getting to something that you want. So like maybe you want to have a different job, or maybe you're single and you want a new relationship, or maybe you're in a relationship and it sucks and you want to make that better. And so a lot of the previous people that have been interviewed about how to visualize or how to really, tune in that visualization, adding the emotions, are a great way to start with this, because I encourage people to like, think 2 to 3 years in the future of what they want. And the important thing of this.
Why do you pick 2 to 3 years?
Because what I found and what I've seen when working with most people is that in 2 to 3 years, it really allows us to decouple our logical mind and really kind of go with a blank slate of almost anything is possible. Because we can think back, 3 years ago. I'm trying to think. I recently bought a new Mac with Apple designed silicon, and probably 3 years ago, most people, unless you were really nerdy like I am, you wouldn't have foreseen that would happen. It's like, oh well, they'll just keep doing what they've been doing, which is using from another company using their processors. But and then also the COVID thing. 3 years ago, there was no COVID. Now there's been COVID. But that also is the flip side of like fantastic things. Like if we're thinking only in a year, and I go, well, how much money do you think you could make in a year, or how much, how fit do you think you could be a year from now? You'd probably just kind of do a very linear, like, well, I've heard that you could put on maybe a pound of muscle mass, every month or so. So maybe I could put on 12 pounds of muscle in a year from now. But when we go 3 years, it's like, well, maybe there could be some new technology, or maybe something radically happens, and I could foresee myself maybe in 3 years putting on 30 pounds of muscle mass, really becoming, Arnold Schwarzenegger class bodybuilder type, and getting to that end result that you truly want. And then this exercise helps you bring that into fruition much, much faster, because really the limits are really what we put on ourselves by believing there is any limit. But when we become open to that things can happen a lot faster, it can actually happen a lot faster. And I've found this in my life with, being able to take time off work and having the finances to do that. When I had my logical mind and I, did my spreadsheet calculations, I was like, okay, in July of 2021, I'm going to be able to take time off. But with the help of this exercise, I was actually able to start taking time off in November of 2020. So it really just accelerated it. And it's become a part of my life, and things are able to happen a lot faster. Like about a month and a half ago, I wanted a new place to live where I'd have a view of the river, close to nature trails. I'd be living with someone who's really spiritually attuned. And I just moved into that new place 4 days ago. So instead of taking, 1 to 2 years, I was able to find the right person with the right space and move into a really amazing place, which is why, the behind me is a little sparse, because I moved in 4 days ago. So it really is a great way to make it easy and fun to bring into your life whatever you would like. And the 2 to 3 years is because why should we have limits on what we want to bring in our life? And that's really the reason why 2 to 3 years is to let go of more of those limits, so we can get what we want now, not 4 years, 5 years, because who knows what's going to happen in 4 years, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Or even 1 year.
Shall we do a mini tiny version of your exercise now on the live?
Yeah. So the exercise is using I call them identity installation questions, because really the gap between what you have now and what you would like to have is more powerfully done with identity. And one of my mentors, Jim Fortin, is, where I've really learned and understand this, that, going back to the bodybuilding, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was one of the governors of California. So that's kind of why it's fun for me to use him, is he wasn't just a bodybuilder. He kept growing. Is you think about his relationship with going to the gym, he's got the identity of someone who enjoys, he enjoys it so much that he says he'd rather do that than just about any other physical activity possible. And, you can use your imagination. And whereas, my identity is someone that I'll go to the gym every now and then. It's not really who I am. I don't love it as much as world-class bodybuilding. So what these questions do is allow you to sort of become that person, so that then you more naturally start doing the behaviors and start having the thoughts that will naturally allow your external environment to match up with who you are. So these identity installation questions, they use a very powerful word, and that word is why. And it's powerful because anytime a question is asked, our mind really just wants to go and answer it. It doesn't like to just left things open-ended. And usually we're all really good at this.
I have an idea,
yes.
Justin.
Yes.
What I propose to do is we can do a identity installation question for the book. So we can ask why is Activate Your Life Volume 3 gonna be a #1 bestseller on Amazon? And then all the authors, they can write down their answers in the chat or on Facebook.
Yeah. And what's great is you might not even have an answer, and that's okay, because your subconscious is filling it in while you're doing other things. So if you do have an answer to one of these questions, like, do put it in the chat. But I've already got a few coming up that I think will be great, and some of them won't necessarily have an easily identifiable answer immediately, yet it's still gonna be doing the magic, because everyone's subconscious is going to be, turning away at how do we make this true. So let's, I always like to suggest that people, close their eyes, get as relaxed as possible, because relaxation really is one of the most powerful states. We think it's like, oh, let me get all pumped up and all this, and relaxation is really an incredible state to be in. So get relaxed, get calm, and close your eyes if you can. And then just allow the question of, why is Activate Your Life Volume 3 going to be the most successful volume so far? Why is purchasing this book at the free price over the next 5 days such an easy thing to do? Why is sharing it with somebody that you know and care about of benefit for them and for you? Why are all the coaches that have been involved in Activate Your Life Volume 3 going to grow from this experience and become even better coaches and better benefiters out in the world? Why are those that read any random section of Activate Your Life going to find the perfect exercise to complement their life and their pursuits? Why is Glenn going to have such a great rest of the time doing these interviews with great connectivity and great connection with the following interviewees? And now, if anybody else has a question that comes to their mind that they would like to ask, they can just silently ask it themselves. And I'd like Glenn, if he has a question that maybe he would like to ask to instill the identity of this book launch for all of us to be as successful as possible, feel free to ask that question now, Glenn. Or just re-ask one of the other questions.
Why do I get the chance to work with Derek and to get to know 22 amazing coaches in this book?
I love it. You got it, Glenn. You got it. It's just that easy.
Oh, this was an amazing exercise. I'm gonna thank you, Justin, because I have some other people waiting in line. Thanks for this amazing interview. Thanks for your contribution to the book, and see you soon.
See you soon. Thanks, Glenn. Bye, everybody.
Hey.
Hi, Diane. How are you?
Hi, Glenn. Good. How are you?
I'm good. Time is flying, really. I've been doing these interviews for almost 3 hours, and
wow,
it goes like this.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it's really great to hear all the other authors talking about their chapters and their work.
Yeah, it's inspirational. not only inspirational, it's also it gives some really useful tools. So Diane, you're not only one of the coaches in the book, but you're also the editor of volume 1, 2, and 3. My first question for you is, how is it for you to read through all those exercises and to learn so much new interesting tools you can use as a coach yourself?
Yeah, it's really amazing. I think I really had a bit more time this last version to really feel the impact of reading and editing all the chapters. And I would just get like goosebumps and be really touched by the chapters. And it was almost like, I had this feeling of like, oh, I want to do all the exercises all at once, but I've got to keep editing as I'm going. But I imagine it's similar to what you're experiencing talking to people and having them talk through the exercises, that just that act of you're almost experiencing what that's like to do the exercises and to work with those people as you're communicating and you're sharing with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's quite a journey today.
Yeah,
and the last couple of months also.
Yeah, and it's interesting because all the exercises and the coaches, like there's often like really complementary synergies between the chapters that just come out naturally, and that's really fascinating. And I think that helps not just strengthen it for the book, but to also see how like all these coaches kind of have a different piece of the puzzle that can help us in different ways in our lives, and come at like common issues that we have with like health or mindset or our emotions, or goal setting, and they come at it in a slightly different angle, and you can see how all those different angles could really strengthen how we live our lives.
Yeah, for sure. Like you're saying, you can use energy work and then journaling and visualization and meditation, and then each one of those things, they can lift you up as a whole and lead to something amazing.
Yeah, and I'm always like, when I'm reading them, just discovering new things and thinking, oh, how can I use that? And like, and the other thing, it's to me as well as the editor, it's not just the value of the exercises, but to hear people sharing like their personal stories and like how they've transformed through these tools and practices they've discovered. For me, that's like the most inspiring part, is that when you read the chapters, you see that the authors really are sharing from like a place of giving back, because they've had amazing transformations and overcome huge challenges and heartbreaks and adversity in their life, and this is kind of maybe one of the practices that they used and then they now use with other clients. And to see that kind of journey is really inspiring as well.
Yeah, it's so true. Like we've heard some amazing stories today. First one was Karen, who got paralyzed in a climbing accident and then had to learn tools to deal with it and become an amazing adventurer afterwards. Then I remind Matt Adams, who was the third person we talked with today. He had to deal with amazing stress at work and then also developed tools to deal with stress. And then Yashika, who lost her daughter of 7 months, which made her reconnect to nature. So yeah, just reading the bios and not the exercises in the book is already very enriching.
Yeah, it's true. Like I remember, there's some really deeply touching stories in the book, and really inspiring that if people have gone through those bigger challenges can find something to really help them, that most of us could benefit from these practices as well. And it is interesting when you go and read people's bios, you find out even more about what they're doing and realize there's some incredible people in the world like doing amazing things with their lives, and really trying to share the kind of hard-earned wisdom that they've gained through their own life experience.
Yeah, it's true. Your exercise in the book is also amazing, in my opinion.
Oh, thank you.
Can you explain it?
Yeah.
Can you explain to the people watching?
Yeah, so my exercise is called The Art of Managing Your Mind, and it's really about helping you to move past like resistance to going after big, impossible goals. And I know, Glenn, you're a big fan of impossible goals. You've done some pretty amazing things in the last few years. And it's something that I've discovered. So my work is as an editor and a book coach to help people write books. And it's something I've noticed that, like, beyond the strategy of doing something, whether it's writing a book or, you know, hiking a mountain or starting a business or something that seems very difficult that you haven't done before, it's like we all go through the same kind of mental process. And it's almost like you start with that initial enthusiasm, the idea, and then it's like all the resistance, all the negative thoughts just kind of hit you, and you sort of lose that, you know, enthusiasm, and then you think about giving up. And then sometimes you go through a cycle of this, and you gain enthusiasm again, and then you nearly give up. And I just noticed in my clients, and I've noticed it in myself as well, is that this is quite like almost the normal way that our brains work, and that I realized that we've really got to understand what this kind of resistance is and like learn to work with it. So my exercise is basically just like a number of steps you can go through to identify what like those resistance kind of negative thoughts are, that the sort of thoughts that basically try and persuade you out of going after your big goal, and then to look at those thoughts and see how they're actually almost like creating a reality that you don't want. You know how, you know, people talk about your thoughts create your reality, and sometimes that's just kind of a vague concept or a law of attraction idea, but my exercise shows you how to break down your thoughts and see how that creates your feelings, and then how that creates the actions you take, and it actually does create your result in a way that matches that negative thought you might have had. So you are actually creating your reality in a very kind of almost like step-by-step way. Even if you don't necessarily believe in the law of attraction, you can kind of see how like the way you show up in the world is really affected by what you're thinking, because it kind of is like a domino effect to how you're going to behave. So yeah, and the exercise like is really focusing on helping you find believable thoughts that are going to move you forward, so that you can keep taking the kind of action you're going to need in order to be successful. So if it's writing a book, for example, you've got to keep showing up and at your laptop and write. You know, like, so what is the thought that you can believe that's actually going to make you want to write? Yeah, and I give some sort of tips and suggestions for the kind of thoughts that might be more believable than saying going for like the really big positive ones, you know, because I mean, I've noticed with affirmation, sometimes we try and stick like a very positive thought onto a negative one, and then we just kind of argue in our head. Like, you know, if you wanted to write a book, you might say, I'm an amazing, talented writer, or something like that. And then, but then your other thought is saying, no, you're not. You're a terrible writer. And so there are ways of coming up with thoughts. One of the suggestions I make is using like an and in your thoughts. So you could say, you know, like, I'm a fairly good writer and I'm learning how to become a brilliant one, or something like that. And that's something that's gonna, if you think that thought, you're probably gonna feel somewhat motivated to improve and to show up and to actually keep writing. But this applies with any impossible goals, I think. I'm sure you've had the same experience, Glenn, where you've had negative thoughts come up when you're thinking about a big goal, and you have to work with the thoughts you have. Like, it's not very useful to just like pretend they're not happening, you know.
Yeah. So this morning I did the exercise, and so my impossible goal is to become a professional adventure and endurance athlete.
Mm.
But when that's the thing I say to myself, you will become a professional athlete, it's very intimidating. And then indeed voices come up in my head that say you are too old or you're not talented enough.
Mm.
And then by doing your exercise, I wrote down that I could organize an expedition next year. That's a doable goal. And then I could learn how to make YouTube channel, and I could do more coaching sessions with Karen, because Karen Dark, she's my mentor. So this way I will improve my confidence. So it was a really useful exercise to have some kinds of steps in between my current position and my impossible dream.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it helps break it down, because often, most of us probably that are attracted to this kind of work, this book, we do tend to have really big dreams, like the big headline statement, place we want to go to. But it can feel a bit intimidating, and especially when, we say we're too old to do this, or like we don't have enough experience or something like that. And the idea is that if you have the kind of thoughts that almost are like mini milestones, really, that just get you moving in that direction, like at some point it's not going to feel impossible, your goal, right?
Mm-hmm. True. What is your impossible goal now?
Oh, I've got lots of impossible goals, Glenn. I've got lots of probably across all areas of my life. I'm also writing a book and sort of finalizing the manuscript. And I guess my impossible goal is to get that traditionally published. And what I've been doing to kind of, in terms of thought work to get me there, is I've been like applying for writing fellowships and writing mentorships with organizations that like help mentor you and get you in touch with literary agents and things like that. So that was kind of my like almost like a bridge to get there to the big goal. So instead of like feeling intimidated by the big goal, I was like, so the last sort of few months I've just been concentrating, and I applied for two kind of award competitions, and I won one of them, and I'm shortlisted for the other, and I find out soon, fingers crossed. But it really helped me because it just gave me something, like it was just apply for these opportunities. Like don't focus almost on the huge big goal. It's almost like just focus on that next step. Like, do I feel like I can apply for those opportunities? Yeah, I feel like I have a good chance of maybe getting one of those opportunities, and that's going to take me to the next step, which will give me the opportunities to get to the big goal. So it's a lot of it is about, I think, like giving your mind something that it can believe and something that it can work towards. Because if we focus sometimes on the big goal like too early, it's like we feel like we're so far away, you know what I mean? Like, and we can talk ourselves out of it, which is a huge shame, because all big goals, like we end up doing them by small steps anyway. Like anyone that's achieved anything big will tell you that. It's just like lots of tiny steps. And whatever's going to motivate you, that's what I believe you've got to choose. So it's not about like finding the right thought or affirmation or strategy. It's like what is going to work for your brain. So for example, when you did the exercise, the things you came up with, you said you found them believable, right? And motivating.
Yeah, believable and exciting goals.
Yeah. That kind of lead you towards that bigger goal and get you kind of partway there. So and I think we want to feel excited. That was the same when I set these smaller goals of applying for these competitions. It was something tangible and I could do. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like, how do I get all the way here? There's so many steps. I don't really understand that part of the journey yet, but I could understand that. Just apply for that thing. You know, like get uncomfortable, apply for that. You're going to learn something. You're going to get a little bit closer to your goal. So.
Yeah. What is the book about, Diane?
It's actually a memoir. So it's about a few years of my life after I was divorced and when I was living in England, and kind of had to completely, because I was living away from friends and family as well, and I sort of had to completely reinvent myself as a person and kind of find a new relationship to how I dated and interacted with men. And yeah, it was like a real kind of like a second coming of age period in my life, because I'd been with like my partner since I was like 19, so I hadn't kind of experienced life outside of that relationship. So it was kind of like exploring the world again, like almost from scratch, and trying to figure out like who I was in that new kind of chapter of my life. So yeah, I guess I stumbled into a lot of misadventures during that time, as usually happens in like a coming of age story. But I mean, I truly believe we have many coming of ages throughout our lives, you know, like we have these life transitions, whether it's divorce or illness or an accident or changing careers or just deciding we want to reinvent ourselves. And those are incredibly like messy times, because we don't have like a playbook for how we're supposed to be that new version of ourselves. So it is kind of a bit messy and funny and like painful. But then on the other side of it, we're kind of a more like authentic version of ourselves.
Yeah. And so now you're living in Bali and about to become a best-selling author. So you've gone through the hard times.
I'm actually living in Australia now. I was living in Bali, yes. So that's I've moved around a little bit. But yes, so yeah, there's like that book. I wouldn't have moved to Bali if I hadn't have gone through those experiences, and after my divorce, like, and had to reinvent myself, because yeah, it kind of forced me to really discover who I was and what I wanted out of my life. Yeah, which I think all life crises sort of do that to you, whether you want it or not. It's like, yeah, it's going to be a huge discovery kind of time in your life.
Yeah, it's true. It's what Ditte talked about, that when messy things happen, it's a lesson for us.
Yeah, and yeah, I think they change us, don't they, those messy things, like in quite deep ways, if we allow it. We don't become kind of hardened to life. I think they do change us in quite deep ways, and I think we become more empathetic to others. I know I did. Like, you know, when your life is going very kind of the way you want it to, you kind of sometimes look at other people and think, oh my God, what are those other people doing with their lives? You know, it's natural almost to be like judgmental of people going through difficult times. And then when you go through difficult times, you kind of go like, oh wow, I kind of really understand a bit more about what it means to be a human, and yeah, like what it means to struggle and come through that as well.
Yeah, true. Okay, Diane, thank you very much for everything, for the editing, for the contribution, and for today.
You're very welcome. It's good to see all the other exercises. I'm going to make sure I get a little bit of time before I have to go to bed to watch some more.
Yeah. What's the time in Australia now?
It's just past 11 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
So almost bedtime.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
I will. Thanks a lot, Glenn. Have fun. Enjoy the rest of the interviews.
I will. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
All right, how's it going? We on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear perfectly. Nice to meet you, Sam. Can I say Sam or is Samuel?
Sam is good. You know, on the live stream, like watching you work, I just have to ask, do you need to use the restroom?
No.
Okay.
Surprisingly,
You know,
no.
wondering.
Because
Cool.
actually, I have very small bladder, so normally I have to pee every hour or so. But now I'm fine. I think I'm so much in the flow because of all the incredible interviews that I don't even think about peeing.
Fantastic. Well, I thought I'd put a little name badge so people can see who I am. I'm Samuel Hatton. You can find me at samuelhatton.com. That's where my coaching page is, and doing some business consulting now. So, yeah, it's really interesting how the journey of a coach just kind of, goes here and there. And this is a Rotary Club badge. Another fellow coach told me about, joining Rotary and giving back to the community and expanding the network. So, anyway, I'm here to talk about the launch and what questions you got for me.
Mm-hmm. So to be clear, you're not one of the authors of Volume 3 of the book you're bringing out today?
No, I'm not.
You've been in Volume 1 or 2?
Yep, volume 1, and I came on to support because I've been a supporter of each book launch since, and Derek's a good friend of mine, so I'm here to talk about the book and specifically talk about how I've used these books and each of these exercises. They're gems. And I want to talk a little bit about how I, as a coach, have used these exercises in my practice. Because I know that there's two audiences. There's the coach audience, and then there's the individual. This is a treasure trove. This series, Activate Your Life, is a treasure trove of exercises that you can do with your coaching clients. So anyway, I just came on to support and talk a little bit about the thing, and yeah. Do you have questions?
That's amazing, Sam. Thank you very much for that. I think you should. We should hire you as a salesperson.
Fine, let's do it.
Yeah. Please give us some examples of ways you've used it with your clients.
Yeah. So first of all, I bake into my fee some ability for me to buy resources and send them to my clients. So I have no problem buying a Strength Finders book, send it to my client because I bake that into the fee. So this is one of those things that I kind of, here's some stuff. And so we're able to reference some exercises that I find that they might find helpful. And it all goes through, you do session coaching or you do text coaching. Those are the two types of coaching I do. You do that for a while and you start to get an idea of like, that exercise, that's what he needs to do next. He's having this block. Okay, let's give him a personal development exercise in self-confidence, in mindset. So if as a coach, if you can read one of these, that volume 1 is 50 exercises, volume 2 is 30, and volume 3 is 30, right? 30?
23.
23.
And to be clear, all the 3 volumes, they are for free this week until Friday. The ebook, ebook of volume 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, so bust out your Kindle and get it because these are all free. Absolutely. And are people going to have where can people find that link? Can we drop it in a chat somewhere?
It's on the Facebook page already. We have a Facebook page for this event, and I send it out to all the coaches who contributed. So I guess they will share it with their network also.
Awesome. So go ahead and type it in Facebook, Activate Your Life, Volume 3, and you should be able to find that link to Amazon.
Or if you just look it up on Amazon, because Amazon is a search engine. So after all, if you search Activate Your Life, you're gonna find it.
There you are. Okay, cool. Yeah, so go ahead and get these exercises, because if you're a coach, you need this. You really need this. The coaches who write these exercises have hand selected their most effective exercise that they use with their coaching clients. They're not just like pulling something out of their butt. They're not copying off of someone else. They're using things that have worked for them. So what you're getting by signing up for this, you're getting at this point 103 exercises that are the creme of the creme. So, and if you're not a coach and you want some really good stuff, the thing I love about this is if someone's exercise resonates with you, you go to the back of the book. There's bios for each of the coaches, each of the authors, and what they're doing is they're putting in their links to their websites, and you're able to reach out to any of them, and almost, I won't say 100%, but almost 100% of them will take a discovery call with you. They will coach you for at least 20 minutes. And I'm not saying all of them, but almost all of them would be willing to. I would be willing to coach you for 20 minutes to see if you guys are a good fit. And if you're not, no worries. So it's a good way to find a good coach too.
Yeah. And what I've experienced myself, because I used to be someone who read a lot of books, a lot of self-development books, but I never invested money in coaches. And actually Derek and we agreed that I would pay him with my time instead of my money. But I must say that the impact I had by being mentored by Derek is nothing comparable to reading a self-development book, because it's really crafted on your very specific needs and very specific goals, and it's a value you can get just out of reading a book, even just out of reading Activate Your Life.
Yeah.
Although you should indeed, as Sam says, read it, because it's so good and full of golden nuggets. But then actually doing coaching with someone, it brings you to a whole other level.
I have a challenge for everyone listening to this right now, and I sent this out to my network, so I know that some of you are on here. In the next 2 years, if you want to completely radically change your life, do one of these exercises every week. It will take you just 1 week short of 2 years. And I guarantee you, your life will become so activated that you will feel like you're a salmon leaping waterfalls. Like, this book is so fantastic. And it's primarily because people chose the top single most effective exercise that they've used hands-on in a practical way with their clients. That's how I chose mine. That's how I chose the one I wrote about in volume 1. So it's good stuff. I'm going into like sales mode too much. You probably want to know a little bit about me, and where do I start?
Where do you want to start?
Well, I am in corporate America, and I have a full-time job, and I've been doing coaching on the side as a side business for about 7 years now, and I have limited availability. In fact, I have one spot right now. I have one spot for a client right now. But I have limited availability because I have my job, and I like my job. So I've been moving into more business coaching for entrepreneurs who want to market their business, systemize their business with tools, and lead their business and become more effective managers. So those are the areas that I coach on mostly, and that's what I have an opening for right now. But it's kind of tough, It's like I'm juggling a full-time job and doing this on the side. My employer knows that I coach, and it's all good. But it's this pandemic has created such a fantastic opportunity for a lot of people to be able to work full-time and dedicate 4 hours a week to a side hustle, which I do. I mean, I do my coaching in about 4 hours a week, but I'm cramming books into my runs, so I'm staying skilled up. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's what I do.
What's your corporate job?
Yeah, my corporate job is marketing manager. I manage the marketing for a company out in Berkeley, and I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia right now.
Okay.
I want to comment on.
Go ahead.
I want to comment on something you said earlier that I find kind of fascinating, and it might kind of help the listeners who might not be familiar with the coaching space. But you said that it's completely different from just reading a book and learning maybe the life knowledge of someone, and actually talking to a coach. Well, consider it kind of like step one. Step one is you get teaching, right? You might get teaching from a book, or you might get teaching from a class. Step two is training. Okay, teaching means I will tell you. Training means I will show you. Now you get training from classes like online courses and stuff, and those are good. Those are usually priced higher than the teaching, because showing is like, you get all the examples, all the context and stuff. Coaching, I will coach you coaching is more like I will watch you. That's what a coach does. The coach watches you. It's that one-on-one, gets the impacts, gets the inputs, and just kind of sees where you are at with things. And then hopefully you have a coach that wants to graduate the heck out of you so that you can move on and do bigger and better things. And that's what I would consider a full-on mentor. And that is, I will send you. And that's the legacy I want. The legacy I want is I want to be able to impact people's lives that when they're sitting on their rocking chair, rocking back and forth, and they think of Samuel Hatton, they just get a little smile on their face. And they're like, I am so glad that when he was on his journey and I was on my journey, we met up and we walked through life a little bit, because that just changed everything. So I'm a big advocate for at least trying once. I mean, try it at least once. Try coaching. You probably
did. You have a mentor yourself?
Excuse me?
Did you have your own mentor or several mentors?
I have several mentors. I currently have several mentors. I have different types of mentors, but I do have one specific individual who I would consider my executive coach. I've known him for many, many years, and we meet every single week. And I told him recently, you're kind of like Tom from The Godfather. The adopted son who went into law, and he's kind of like the wise counsel of the Corleone family. Like, you're kind of like my Tom. And he was like, wow, I'm honored to be your Tom. And it's just that if I have a big decision I need to make and I need to short it by someone, he's smarter than me. He's more wise than me. He might not be more knowledgeable than me, but he just gets life in a way that I'm like, you gotta break that down again, and I'm just absorbing the information, but yeah, he would be he's been my official podcast launch coach, and then I have all kinds of different projects I loop him into, but sometimes I don't want him to coach me on a certain project, so I'll grab someone else, and I'll hire another coach for another thing like fitness. So I'm a big advocate of if there's an area of your life that is very important, like maybe you just got married and you never want to get divorced and you want to stick it through, a marriage coach is great. And actually my executive coach, that's the area he's moving into. He's realized, I love teaching people business, I love teaching people sales, but I love even more people having a marriage that they're just like, so that's what he's moving into. And it's just kind of weird, I might be coaching something else in 5 years. I might be, and that's what coaches do. They find their path. We're all on a journey. We're all finding our way.
Well, Sam, thanks for your amazing contribution.
All right, go earn your sessions with Derek, man. He's a really smart, amazing guy, you know, and he's doing good work.
I cannot agree more.
Cool, and maybe we'll meet in person sometime at one of these adventure retreats. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sam. Have a nice day, and we will move on with Donna.
All right, take care.
Hi, Glenn.
Hi, Donna. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. We've corresponded a few times. Nice to see you in person, sort of.
I can't hear you very clearly, Donna. Maybe you should move a little bit closer to your mic. Yeah, it's a little bit better. Please present yourself to people watching.
I'm Donna Cripson. I live in Sacramento, California. I am the president of Self Carnegie Training. We are a training company, and it's a company that's been around more than 100 years. I think some of the principles from a book called How to Influence and Influence People. We do courses on human relationship skills, and public speaking, sales, I'm also a coach, and I built up a business on the side.
Donna, I'm going to interrupt you. Because I hear you twice. Maybe the error is that you're watching the live stream on YouTube or on Facebook at the same time. So yeah, Donna has disappeared. Derek, if you're watching, maybe then I can interview you now. While we're waiting for Donna. I will try to help Donna out on Facebook if she's watching my message. Mm. By the way, Derek, he let me know that we're already #1 on Amazon. So that's something to celebrate. I'm gonna wait a couple of minutes longer to see if Donna comes back online, or Derek maybe. Hey, Derek.
Glenn.
How are you?
Hey, good. And heard you say you want me to pop on, so you've been doing amazing. All those interviews.
Time has flew by.
Excellent.
I don't know what's happened with Donna. I heard her like twice, like a very large echo. Then I asked her if she could change her sound, and then she disappeared.
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting a buzzing. I'm not sure if there's some kind of feedback, but yeah, man. I was just checking the bestseller lists. We're #1 in 3 categories so far.
That's so cool.
So
Which
we're
ones?
#1 in personal transformation, self-help, and spirituality. So
we're #1 in self-help. That's cool.
#1 within, so not within the whole self-help store, which is actually like there's a huge amount of self-help. We're in spiritual self-help and personal transformation. There's 16,000 different Amazon categories, and unfortunately you can't be in all the one, because we have 23 exercises. You can't be in all of them that would be appropriate. So we got to try to pick the best ones. There's an art to that. But I've got sitting here at my desk, I've got the actual physical books. What we're giving people is the Kindle version, which you can download. A lot of people get the physical copies as well, so you can make notes in it. And, because a lot of people use these for their retreats. Coaches use them for their retreats or for building out their events, and they make notes on what's working. It's kind of like a workbook. It's just so funny. I run into people all over the world that they're like, hey, I have your book, and I coach from it. And sometimes I think I even saw someone reading it one time in a cafe, in a coffee shop, and I was like, I know that book. So it's kind of crazy, you know.
Like the story of Proofreader.
I think
I was looking for a proofreader on Upwork, and one of the people reacting, she told me that she had read Activate Your Life Volume 2. So we picked her as our proofreader.
I know, like, what are the chances?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can make sure so we can. I'm just looking on the back end of this platform, make sure everybody can post comments. So, what's the plan? Are we streaming all the way through the whole day, or are we gonna do it in 2 sections?
Yeah, 2 sections. Normally Donna was my last guest. Donna and you were my 2 last guests, and I think you come back online 2 hours and a half or something like that. It's on the planning.
Yeah, we're gonna actually fit Hallie, who's one of our authors. She's in Germany. We're gonna slide her in at 11:40 Central, so that's in an hour 10 minutes. We'll be coming back on.
Because we had an issue with my computer streaming. So Hallie, she had to tell her story all alone without me asking questions. So we're going to give her a second chance.
Okay, good. All right, well, let's, for everybody watching or seeing the recording of this, we'll, the link, I actually posted the link in the description over on Facebook. So if that's where you're watching it, we'll try to post the actual link to the Amazon book. But you can search it on Amazon. You'll find all 3. And Glenn, you've been doing a great job. And the authors are super happy. People downloading the book are happy. So, and I'll weave in. I don't feel like I need to be interviewed right now, because I'll just weave in my own story as we do the show later, because we'll have a few hours where I'm on air talking to the authors, and I'm sure a lot will come from that.
Okay, it's great. Because I also really love your exercise, and I hope we will do it with the authors this week all together.
Yeah, it may be the only group exercise in the book, so it's a little bit different, and it's super powerful.
Okay, great.
All right, well, I'm gonna leave the studio, and I'm let you wind up this first half of the day, and we'll be back in an hour with another 8 author interviews, I believe. Hallie Bass, Paul Cantrell, Anahata Roach, Ian Griffith, Logan Griffith, they're related. Casa Grant, Jimmy McDowell, Sanya Singh, and Rong Zhao. I believe that's how you say it. The wrong way. Okay, we got 9 authors. So my butt will be in the seat for a while.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for coming on, Derek.
All right, Glenn. We'll see you soon.
I will listen to your interviews also, but I first gonna take a pee because it's finally there. So.
Good. I'm gonna go have my breakfast.
Enjoy your breakfast. Everyone who has been watching and listening, thank you very much. I hope you feel thrilled. I hope you feel inspired, and I hope you feel incentivized to buy the book. You don't even have to buy it. It's for free until Friday, so don't hesitate. Go to Amazon and download it. You won't regret it. It's, as Sam said right away, it's such an amazing source of amazing exercises you can use to improve your own life or to help your clients. Thank you very much, and be back for part 2 in about 1 hour.